Welcome to the Ekmon Empire, where the palace is grand, but the secrets hiding inside are even bigger. Girl Adelaide is standing there, looking out at a life she didn't choose, but she's finally ready to take control. Just look at that profile. She's regal, she's powerful, and she is absolutely done with playing by everyone else's rules. You can see the determination in her eyes. She's finally making a choice that's for her and her alone. She's thinking, wow, that was actually way easier than I thought it would be. No turning back now. But of course, the peace doesn't last. She hears someone coming, and the vibe in the room shifts instantly. Boom, the door flies open like he's in a dramatic movie. Talk about an aggressive entrance. And there he is, Karl Ehrlich Ekmont, the man, the myth, and the absolute headache of the hour. Adelaide doesn't even flinch. She's just like, can I help you? Or are you just here to break the door hinges? Karl looks like he's on the verge of a total meltdown. He demands to know exactly where she thinks she's going. Silence. Pure, icy silence. She doesn't owe him a single explanation, and her face says it all. He's literally chasing her down now, shouting that he asked her a question. Calm down, sir. The floor is vibrating. He gets right in her face, still trying to act like he has some kind of authority over her. The audacity is off the charts. Adelaide just looks at him with those golden eyes. She is so beyond over this man's temper tantrums. He tries to grab her, thinking he can just force her to stay. He really has no idea who he's messing with. Then he drops the name. Are you going to that guy? Oh, so he's jealous. That's actually hilarious.
He's talking about Lionel Valdir. You can see the panic written all over his face. He's losing his grip on her. Adelaide is just like, does it even matter who I'm going to? The point is, I'm done with you. She tells him straight up. She can't tolerate him for one more second. Shots fired, and they hit the mark. He tries to play the "you're my Empress" card. Where else would you be? Literally anywhere else, Karl. Adelaide just laughs. A full, genuine laugh because this whole situation is just that ridiculous. Karl is stunned. He's never seen her like this. The power dynamic is shifting right before his eyes. My Empress, she mocks. After you spent all that time trying to dethrone me? Mic drop moment right there. He's sweating now. He knows she's right, and he has absolutely zero defense for his past behavior. He tries to tell her to stop, to not say another word, but the truth is already out in the open. Adelaide gives him this little smirk. She's been waiting for the moment she could finally say this out loud. She's not just leaving the room. She's leaving the entire life he tried to trap her in. She's choosing freedom. At his face. That is the look of a man who just realized he played himself and lost everything. I'm throwing it all away, she says. The title, the position, the crown. She's finally taking her power back. Cut to the open road. A new journey is officially beginning, and the stakes couldn't be any higher. She's got her squad with her, heading toward a future that she's finally building on her own terms. Carriage is moving, the flags are flying, and Adelaide is officially on the move and out of his reach. Inside, she's reflecting on how she even got to this point. It's been a long, messy road to get this free. Meet Adelaide Gottroff, striker, princess, and a woman who just flipped the script on two different empires. It all started with that marriage proposal from Ekmont, a political move that felt more like a prison sentence. Her mother, the queen, didn't even ask her opinion. She just commanded her to go and become the Empress. Adelaide's face says it all. She knew exactly what her mother was doing, shuffling her off to a different kingdom. They're standing in this cold, grand room, and the tension between mother and daughter is thick enough to choke on. Her mother is looking at her like she's just a pawn on a chessboard. It's honestly heartbreaking to watch. Adelaide tries to stand her ground, but her mother has been playing these political games way longer. Then her mom goes for the jugular. She brings up that day. You know it's about to get real dark. If only you had left your little brother Lucio to die. Can you believe a mother would actually say that? Adelaide is just frozen. It's one thing to be a pawn, but to have your own mother wish your brother was dead? That's cold. Her mother is basically saying Adelaide is too powerful and too much of a threat to the family's throne. She's using Adelaide's love for her brother as a weapon. It's the ultimate form of emotional blackmail. What about your future children? Her mother asks. She's spinning a web of fear to keep her in line. She's making Adelaide feel like everyone around her, even her allies, will eventually turn on her for the throne. Adelaide is visibly shaken. She's strong, but this kind of mental warfare from her own family is exhausting.
Your existence is like a knife to the jaw of the Empire. Wow, Mom, tell us how you really feel, why don't you? The ultimatum was clear. Leave for the sake of the Empire and your brother, or stay and watch it all burn. Back in the present, Adelaide's eyes harden. She remembers every single word of that toxic advice. She's sitting in that carriage, miles away from her home, heading straight into the lion's den. She opens a small box. It's time to finally study up on the man she's actually supposed to be marrying. She pulls out a portrait of Carl. He looks so different here. Polished, perfect, and totally fake compared to the man she met. Carl Ulrich Ekmont, her fiancé. The man who's about to find out she is definitely not a damsel in distress. She closes the box firmly. She's done looking at the past. From here on out, it's all about the strategy. But wait, there's even more tea. She spots something else hidden in the file she was given. Secret document? Whatever it is, it's definitely going to be a massive problem for Carl's reputation. She pulls it out slowly. She needs to know exactly what kind of mess she's walking into before she arrives. There it is. The dossier on the Mistress, Diana Poitiers. Oh, this just got a whole lot more interesting. Adelaide just sits back and takes it in. She's crossing oceans to reach a place where she has zero allies. She knows she's heading into a territory where she can't trust a single soul, not even her own fiancé. Damn it, she thinks. The distance, the danger, the total isolation, it's a lot for one person to handle. It's a long, long way to the Ekmont Empire, but she's not going there to hide. She's going there to rule.
Meanwhile, back at the Ekmont Palace, the sun is setting on the old way of doing things forever. Carl is in his office, already feeling the pressure and trying to keep his cool while his world starts to tilt. He's staring at the one thing that's been haunting his thoughts ever since he heard she was coming. It's Adelaide's portrait, the one she sent ahead to give him a taste of what he's in for. She looks absolutely stunning. But there's a coldness to her beauty that he definitely didn't expect. He's leaning on his hand, staring at her image and trying to figure out what she's really thinking. Usually, brides send portraits where they look soft and welcoming. You know, trying to be likable. Not Adelaide. She didn't come to play the part of the blushing bride or the submissive wife. He finally realizes the message she's sending. She's coming as an empress, not a woman to be controlled. We stand.
The Emperor is already in a bad mood, girl. He's staring at Adelaide's portrait like it's personally offending him. He says he can feel her influence just from the picture, and he is not a fan. He's basically wishing she was just some random girl he could control, not an empress with actual power. But Adelaide is already on her way, and she is not coming to play nice. Inside the carriage, she's looking absolutely regal. Look at that hair. She's got those piercing golden eyes that just scream she is in charge now. Enter our new eye candy, Lionel Valdier. He's the Duke's second son and basically the most important guy in the military right now. He's out here in the middle of nowhere, waiting for the carriage to appear on the horizon. He's been waiting a while, but he is nothing if not patient. Finally, he spots them. He tells his men to wake up because the show is about to start. Lionel hops on his horse, ready to go greet the woman who's about to turn this whole empire upside down. Back in the carriage, Adelaide hears the thundering of hooves and realizes they are no longer alone. She peeks out the window, probably wondering what kind of welcome party she's getting. Lionel and his guard are riding hard to meet her at the first gate. Talk about a dramatic entrance. Adelaide's maid tells her they've still got another hour before they actually hit the palace. Another hour? Adelaide is not about that life. She's been traveling for 2 months and she is done with being cooped up. She tells the maid she needs to change her clothes right now. She's got a plan, and it definitely does not involve a ball gown. The carriage finally comes to a screeching halt as they reach the meeting point. Lionel steps off his horse, looking every bit the high-ranking captain he is. He's got that stoic hero look down to a science girl. He walks toward the carriage with all the confidence in the world. He's prepared for a fragile princess, but he has no idea what's waiting behind that door. He approaches the carriage door, where the maid is waiting, looking a little nervous. The maid gives him a quick nod, basically saying, "Good luck, you are going to need it." Lionel knocks politely, asking for permission to enter and greet her. He starts his whole formal introduction, sounding very professional and by the book. Then, silence. The door opens, and the air just leaves the room. Lionel's face just drops. He's completely frozen, like his brain just hit a 404 error. The maid is just standing there like, "Yeah, I know, just roll with it, Captain." Because Adelaide is sitting there in full-on riding gear. Pants, in public. The absolute scandal. Lionel literally flinches. He cannot believe his eyes right now. And then he looks at her face. And girl, those golden eyes are staring right into his soul. He's completely stunned. He's never seen anyone with this much audacity. All he can think about are those golden eyes. He's totally mesmerized. He finally remembers how to speak and manages to get out a proper greeting. He extends his hand to help her down, trying to get back into professional mode. Adelaide looks at him, totally unfazed by his obvious shock. She takes his hand and steps out, looking like the coolest person in the room. Lionel is still staring. He literally cannot help it. He's thinking, wait, her clothes. Is she serious about wearing this to the palace? Adelaide thanks him for coming all this way, acting like wearing pants to a royal meeting is totally normal. She introduces herself properly, and Lionel is just trying to keep his jaw off the ground. He finally manages to introduce himself back, but he's definitely rattled by her vibe. They're just standing there, and the tension is so thick you could cut it with a sword. Adelaide looks over at the horses, and you can see the wheels turning in her head. She sees the royal guard's horses and gets a sparkle in her eye that usually means trouble. She tells him that 2 months in a carriage is way too long, and she is done with it. Lionel is confused. He's like, okay, so why are you asking about my horses? And she just gives him this smirk and says she wants to ride one, obviously.
Lionel is like, ride a horse? Right now? In front of everyone? Guards start panicking. They're like, Your Highness, these are war horses. They are mean and dangerous. Adelaide just laughs. She's like, please, I am a princess of Gotrov. Do you really think I am afraid of a horse? And before anyone can stop her, she is off. She is not waiting for permission. She's riding that horse like a total pro, hair flying in the wind. She looks absolutely incredible. Lionel is just watching her, totally impressed. He realizes she was not just being rebellious, she actually has the skills. She rides all the way to the final gate, leaving everyone in the dust. She hops off the horse like it's nothing, looking like she just went for a casual stroll. She gives the horse a little pat, thanking it for the ride. She's a natural. Lionel catches up to her, probably still processing everything he just saw. He looks at her with this new sense of respect. He is definitely intrigued now. Adelaide gives him this satisfied look. She needed that adrenaline rush to deal with this palace. Lionel asks if she's finally relieved, and she's like, yes, thank you, much better. She admits she should probably get back in the carriage before they reach the main palace, so she doesn't cause a total riot. Lionel just smiles. He is totally charmed by her at this point, girl. Adelaide gives him one last look before heading back to her carriage. She walks away with so much confidence. Girl is a living legend already. Lionel stops in his tracks, just watching her go. She tells him she actually enjoyed the ride and hopes they can do it again soon. Lionel is just left there, staring at the carriage door as it shuts. He's got this little smirk on his face. He is definitely hooked. The door clicks shut, and the carriage starts moving again toward the palace. Lionel watches it go, probably thinking his life just got a lot more interesting. Princess Adelaide Gotrov. She is definitely not what anyone expected. Cut back to the Emperor in his study. He's trying to work, but you know he's thinking about her. He looks up as someone enters. He's already got that do not bother me face on. It's one of his servants, looking a little worried about the news he has. Maid from the Ivory Palace has arrived, with a message from the new resident. The Emperor looks annoyed. He's like, what now? What is she doing already? The maid looks like she is about to drop some serious tea about the situation. Now we are at the Ivory Palace, and look at all those shiny things. So much jewelry. Someone is picking through the royal jewelry boxes.
It's Adelaide, but she's looking a little surprised by what she is finding. Hear footsteps approaching. Someone is coming in hot, and they sound angry. He turns around, sensing the drama before it even starts. And here she is, Duchess Elizabeth, the Emperor's stepsister. She bursts into the room like she owns the place. Elizabeth is looking all smug and self-righteous. You just know she is here to cause trouble. Adelaide tries to stay polite. She gives her a proper greeting and a smile, but you can tell she sees right through her. Adelaide asks what brings her to the Ivory Palace, playing it cool while Elizabeth fumes. Elizabeth gives her this nasty look. She is already judging everything about Adelaide. She looks at all the jewelry boxes and is like, what is with all of this? She asks if the Emperor actually gave her permission to touch the royal treasures. She's basically calling her a thief. Look at that smirk. She really thinks she is winning this argument. Adelaide just smiles and explains she's picking a crown for the wedding. You know, because she is the one getting married. Elizabeth gets all huffy. She says she is worried people will protest if a mistress is picking out royal crowns. She's trying so hard to make Adelaide feel like an outsider who doesn't belong. Adelaide's face goes stone cold. She is not taking this from anyone, girl. Elizabeth picks up a different crown and says, how about choosing this one instead? She tells Adelaide it is better if someone from the family chooses it. She is literally trying to take her moment away. Adelaide looks Elizabeth dead in the eye, and you can see the fire starting. She lets out this little laugh. Girl, the shade is about to be legendary. Elizabeth's eyes are full of rage. She is absolutely fuming at being laughed at. Adelaide drops the bomb. She says since Elizabeth is the only divorced woman in the empire, maybe she shouldn't be giving wedding advice. Oh my God, she went there.
Elizabeth is absolutely speechless and humiliated. Elizabeth slams her hands down, screaming about how insolent Adelaide is. She is totally losing it. Right at that moment, the Emperor bursts in like, what on earth is happening here? Girl, the drama is peaking. The Emperor literally bursts through the door like he's on a mission. The tension is already through the roof. The Emperor's sister just looks at him, totally unfazed, while the drama unfolds right in front of her. And of course, there's Diana, looking like she's about to win an Oscar for Best Supporting Victim. Carl's face says it all. He is not here for games, and he's definitely not on his sister's side. Diana immediately pulls the Your Majesty card, trying to look as fragile as possible. The tears start flowing. Like, girl, we get it. You're the innocent one. Give it a rest. You can see him softening. He's falling for it, hook, line, and sinker. Duchess is literally calling her a fox in her head. She sees right through the act. He's like, what is this? Totally demanding an explanation for why his precious mistress is upset. The Duchess isn't backing down. She's like, shouldn't you be worried about state affairs instead of your mistress? Preach. She tells him straight up. She hasn't done anything wrong, even if he won't believe her. Anna keeps up the act, making herself look even more pitiful while the Duchess stands her ground. Carl isn't buying it. He's so blinded by Diana that he can't see the truth right in front of him. Then Diana drops the "it's all because I'm lacking" line. Oh, please, the manipulation is unreal. They look like the perfect couple, and the Duchess is just the mean sister-in-law in their twisted story. The Duchess realizes she has no voice here. Diana is using the wedding prep to show off her power.
He looks at his sister and basically tells her to be grateful that Diana is even volunteering to help. Then he brings up her divorce. That was a low blow, Carl. Seriously, how could you? He sighs like he's the one being burdened. He gives her one last warning to stop picking on Diana. He's dead serious. He put Diana in charge and his sister just has to deal with it. The Duchess's eyes are burning. She doesn't want to see this mess ever again. He just turns his back on her. The disrespect is actually making my blood boil. She watches him walk away, knowing that the gap between them is just getting wider. The look in her eyes, she's hurt, but she's also done. She knows exactly where she stands now. She's keeping it all inside, but you can feel the storm brewing under that calm exterior. She's staring at the door long after he's gone. This isn't over, not by a long shot. The door slams shut, leaving her in the silence of her own realization. She just collapses onto the sofa. The weight of it all is finally hitting her. She's exhausted. Dealing with those two is a full-time job she never signed up for. She remembers how everyone thinks Carl is the sun, and the closer you are, the more you shine. But Diana knows she's the only moon. She thinks she's untouchable as long as she has Carl. The Duchess knows Diana can manipulate the Emperor like a puppet. It's scary how much power she has.
Later on, Diana is actually caressing Carl's hair while he rests on her lap. The audacity! He looks so peaceful, totally unaware that he's being played by the person he trusts most. He tells her he wants to stay like this a bit longer. He's completely under her spell. Anna looks down at him, her eyes filled with a weird kind of possessiveness. To her, he's perfect. He's the Emperor. But in her head, he's just hers. She has zero intention of sharing him with anyone, especially not the new Empress. He starts to wake up, and you can see the stress in his eyes. He's totally vulnerable to her. His eyes snap open, and the first thing he sees is Diana. Always Diana. Sits up quickly, looking a bit disoriented. The mood in the room just shifted. And here we go again. She's back to the waterworks. She really knows how to play her role. He asks if she's still hurt by his sister's words. He's so protective, it's almost nauseating. She starts sobbing about how the new Empress might be displeased with her. She's laying it on thick. He tells her the Empress will never be able to harm her. He's basically giving her a free pass to do whatever she wants. She tries to act like she's the one standing in the way of his future. Girl, please, you love being in the way. She tells him he's the only one she wants. That fake, sweet voice is enough to make anyone cringe. Carl looks stressed. He wants to keep her by his side, even if it means causing a political scandal.
She tells him she's fine just being by his side. Yeah, right. We all know she wants more. She reaches out to touch his face, acting like she's his only comfort in the world. They share this tender moment, but it feels so calculated. Diana is definitely winning this round. Carl's expression is so intense. He's determined to protect his mistress, no matter the cost. Diana clings to him,
thinking to herself that she'll never let anyone steal him away. Now we're back with the Duchess. She's looking at something, probably more wedding plans she has to deal with. She's having tea with her brother, but the conversation is anything but relaxing. He's surprised that she even chose the Emperor's coat. He knows how much she's handling right now. The Duchess is just staring ahead. She's realized something, and it's about the people around her. She notices the maids standing by the door. One of them catches her eye for a very specific reason. The maid has light blonde hair and deep blue eyes, just like someone we know. The Duchess tells the maid to lift her face. She's checking every detail, and she doesn't like what she sees. Blonde hair, blue eyes. It's a recurring theme in this palace, and she is over it. She thinks the maid isn't noticeably beautiful, but the resemblance is enough to be suspicious. She tells both of them to leave. She needs to talk to her brother in private, right now. The maids leave, but you can feel her gaze burning into the back of their heads.
She turns to her brother and gives a very specific order. No more maids with blonde hair and blue eyes, period. He's like, do you know how common that is? He thinks she's being unreasonable, but he doesn't get it. She doesn't care. She tells him he has to do exactly as she says. She's not taking any chances. He finally gives in, but he still thinks she's just being difficult. If only he knew the real reason. She warns him to be careful with his words. The palace walls have ears, and they're always listening. He looks a bit annoyed, but he knows better than to argue with her when she's like this. Then he asks her the big question. Does she really think she can hang on against the new Empress? He points out that the Empress is a princess from a powerful kingdom. She's not going to be easy to handle. Duchess is like, what do you mean by that? She's ready for whatever challenge comes her way. He explains that even if Carl can't live without Diana, he won't give her the title of Empress. It's a harsh truth. He warns her that the new Empress won't let a mistress off easily. She'll have to assert her position immediately. He's worried for her. He's heard rumors that the new Empress is exceptionally beautiful and strong. He even suggests she should have gotten pregnant before the marriage. Like, wow, talk about desperate measures. He's really pushing the idea, but his sister isn't having any of it. She snaps. Do you think that's as easy as it sounds? She's finally letting some of that frustration out. He flinches. He definitely touched a nerve. Her temper is not something you want to mess with.
She takes a breath and calms down. She tells him that the Empress won't be granted anything by the Emperor. She reveals a huge secret. Carl has a severe hatred for the word Empress. Wait, what? Her brother is totally lost. He has no idea what she's talking about, but we're all ears. She says the reason he won't make Diana Empress is actually because he loves her. Okay, girl, explain. He thinks it's total nonsense. He's like, love grows cold. You don't know men. He warns her that Carl's love could turn cold one day. He's trying to be the voice of reason, but she just says, I know. She's way ahead of him on this one. She says love for the living can grow cold, but love for the dead never does. That's dark. She explains that Carl sees his mother in Diana. He's not in love with her. He's in love with a ghost. She opens the locket, revealing a picture of Carl's mother. The resemblance is uncanny. His mother passed away because of the former Empress. That's why he hates the very title. She knows that as long as Diana looks like his mother, his love will never fade. It's twisted, but it works. She clicks the locket shut. She's found the ultimate leverage, and she's going to use it. Her brother just looks at her, probably a little terrified of how calculating she's become. She believes it's better to be a mistress with love and power than an empress with just a title. The next day, people are lining up at the palace to welcome the new Empress, Adelaide. She's sitting there, looking every bit the royal she is, but there's one person missing. Everyone wants to make a good impression on her, but the one person who matters still hasn't shown up. The day turns into evening, and the parade of greetings finally comes to an end. Still no news of the Emperor. He's literally ghosting his own Empress on her arrival day. The maids are starting to whisper. They can see how bad this looks for Adelaide. Adelaide just smirks. She knew he wouldn't come. She's not even surprised anymore. She decides she's tired and heads off to take a bath. She's not going to sit around waiting for him. She tells them to send anyone else back. She's done for the day, and she's not taking visitors. She's finally in her room, ready to relax after a long day of being ignored by her husband. But then, she notices something, or someone. Her guard is immediately up. She looks across the room and sees a woman standing there. Who could possibly be in her private chambers? It's Diana. But she's dressed up and looking completely different. The audacity of this woman is actually insane.
Our girl is back in her room, trying to get a moment of peace, but you just know the drama is right around the corner. And speak of the devil, she walks in and finds some random woman just chilling in her private bedchamber like she owns the place. Like, excuse me? Who is this girl and why is she acting so comfortable in a room that isn't hers? She introduces herself as Diana Poitier, looking all sweet and innocent, but we know better. Then it clicks. This is the woman from the documents, the Emperor's little mistress. The audacity to show up here. She sees the Empress is all wet from the rain and immediately tries to play the helpful soul. Look at those big blue eyes. She's trying so hard to look like she wouldn't hurt a fly. But girl, we see you. She actually has the nerve to offer to dry the Empress's hair. Is she for real right now? And then she has the gall to think to herself that the Empress's face isn't even the Emperor's type. The shade. She's standing there with this tiny, smug smile. She really thinks she's winning this little power play. The Empress just stares her down and asks, "Are you a maid?" Burn. Anna gets all defensive, saying no, she's definitely not a maid. Okay, then what are you doing? So the Empress hits her with the logic. Then why on earth are you trying to dry my hair? And more importantly, why are you in my bedroom without my permission? Get her, girl. Anna tries to pivot, saying she just wanted to inform her of something important. Here comes the nonsense. The Empress is like, regarding what? She's clearly not in the mood for games.
This whole confrontation is so tense, you could cut it with a knife. You can see the Empress is just waiting for her to slip up. Anna drops the bomb. She wants to talk about the Emperor's preferences. Oh, she did not just go there. She starts gesturing towards the Empress's hair like she's some kind of beauty consultant. She tells her the Emperor likes wavy hair and suggests she should change hers. The level of disrespect is insane. Then she suggests the Empress needs more makeup to look rosy. Is she calling her pale and ugly? I'm fuming. You can practically see the smoke coming out of the Empress's ears. She is done. How dare she? Yeah, that's exactly what we're all thinking. She snaps. The Empress grabs her, and for a second, I thought she was going to throw hands. She repeats it back to her with pure venom. Preferences? You want to talk to me about his preference? But then she just lets go and coldly asks for a glass of wine. Talk about a total mood shift. She sits down, acting like Diana is just a servant, saying she'll sleep better after a drink. The disrespect is returned. She asks Diana why she's even giving advice that nobody asked for. It's a total shut up moment. Diana looks all hurt and says she just thought the Empress would be curious. Girl, please. The Empress asks her if she's the type who just loves gossiping about other people's business. Diana is completely stunned. She didn't expect the Empress to have this much bite. Then the Empress asks, "Can you go tell the Emperor about my preferences then?" She says she likes a man who can actually talk about private issues in person, not through a mistress. Mic drop. Diana's face is priceless. She's realizing she's totally outmatched here. The Empress makes it clear. She has never changed herself for anyone. And she's not starting now. She tells her to keep those preferences to herself and stop bothering her. Diana is left standing there, looking like she just got slapped across the face with words. You can go now. The ultimate dismissal. Get out of here. Anna looks down, and you can tell she's absolutely seething under that fake exterior. Then she puts on that fake smile again and apologizes, saying she was just excited. Yeah, right. The Empress doesn't buy a single second of it. She's just watching her leave. Diana leaves with one last sweet offer to help if anything is uncomfortable. She is so fake, it hurts. But the Empress is thinking about what she said, how she instructed the servants. She watches her walk out, but the anger is still simmering. She realizes Diana is acting like the lady of the house, giving orders to her staff. It's absolutely ridiculous. She arrives at her new home and is greeted by the mistress acting like the boss. She clenches her fist. This isn't just about a mistress. It's about her respect as an empress.
Karl Ulrich Egmont? He's really pushing her buttons before they even get to the altar. Meanwhile, rumors are spreading through the palace like wildfire about how the emperor never even wanted a bride. But our girl is getting ready anyway. She's got a role to play, and she's going to do it with style. She looks at her dress, knowing that tonight is going to be a battlefield of its own. She touches the fabric, preparing herself for the circus that is about to happen. Her maid comes in to help her with the final touches for the big ceremony. They bring out this gorgeous platinum crown. It's sparkly, it's expensive, it's not enough. She looks at it, and you can see her mind working. She's making a statement. Maid places it on her head, but something just feels off to her. She looks in the mirror and decides she's not going for silver today. She doesn't like it. It's too subtle, too quiet for the message she wants to send. She grabs that crown and basically says, no, this isn't it. She demands a gold crown instead. She wants to shine so bright they can't ignore her. Meanwhile, over in another part of the palace, someone is having a total meltdown.
The Emperor finds Diana trembling and crying. Oh, here we go with the wirework. She looks up at him with those big, teary eyes, playing the victim perfectly.
She leans into him, sobbing about how sorry she is. Girl, what are you even sorry for? Carl looks at her and sees someone fragile that he needs to protect from the mean Empress. She's doing the absolute most, making herself look like a kicked puppy. Tears just keep coming. She's a professional at this point. Carl is actually feeling sick just hearing the word Empress. He's totally triggered. Diana praises the Empress, calling her noble and beautiful, but you know there's but coming. And there it is. She mentions how the Empress thought she was just one of the maids. Carl's mother was a maid, so this hits him right in the trauma. Diana knows exactly what she's doing. He's getting more and more upset, thinking the Empress is just like the people who looked down on his mother. Diana sees it's working and cranks up the drama. She's got him right where she wants him. She whimpers about how sad she was that she couldn't even say who she was to the Empress. Look at that single tear. If there was an Oscar for manipulative mistress, she'd win it. Suddenly, she starts gasping for air. Is she having a panic attack or just a really committed performance? Carl is panicking now, holding her and begging her to breathe. He's totally hooked. He's screaming for a physician, completely losing his mind over her. She collapses right there in his arms. The drama is at an all-time high. She whispers, "Please don't throw me away," like she's in some tragic romance novel. Carl looks like he's about to go to war. The Empress is definitely going to pay for this. He just holds her as she faints, completely forgetting everything else. And just like that, the mood shifts. It's time for the wedding. But where's the groom? The cathedral is stunning, but the atmosphere inside is getting very awkward. All the nobles are whispering, "Why hasn't His Majesty shown up yet? This is a disaster." And there she is, our Empress, standing all by herself at the altar. My heart is breaking for her, but she isn't crying. She's cold as ice, thinking, does he really think he can make me look this ridiculous?
The clock is ticking and everyone is literally holding their breath. The tension in this room is thick enough to cut with a knife, and we haven't even started yet. Adelaide is just standing there looking like a literal goddess in that gown, but you can hear the whispers. The nobles are already starting their gossip and it is getting loud. She's trying to keep her cool, but honestly, she feels like she's being thrown into a shark tank without a life jacket. Look at these people snickering behind her back. It makes my blood boil. Adelaide is literally gritting her teeth, trying not to snap at them. In this moment, she remembers her nanny's words. In a place like this, there's absolutely nobody to trust but yourself. Her nanny was the only one who truly cared, crying as she told her that she has to be the one to protect her own honor and dignity. That's right, time to lock in. Adelaide isn't going to let these vultures see her sweat for even a second. She takes a deep breath and looks around. Why on earth is she the only one standing while all these nobles are comfortably seated? It's a total power play to make her look pathetic. Well, two can play at that game. She calls over an attendant with the most effortless, cold, "You there," you've ever heard. The nobles are like, wait, what is she doing? They have absolutely no clue what's about to hit them. She demands a chair. Yes, girl. If the Emperor is going to be this late to his own wedding, she's gonna wait in style. She sits down like the absolute queen she is. The sheer audacity. I am obsessed with this move. She's not playing around. The crowd is absolutely reeling. She's seated? Yes, she is. And what are you guys gonna do about it? Exactly. Nothing. Look at that gorgeous, confident smile. She's basically telling them that if the Emperor wants her standing, he should have been here on time. The silence in the room is deafening now. She just flipped the entire script and took control of the room without even raising her voice. Even the Duke, Lionel Valdir, is impressed. He can see exactly what she's doing, and honestly, he's totally here for the drama.
He's looking at her with such intensity. There's definitely something brewing there, and I'm already shipping it so hard. Adelaide notices him too. She's wondering who this handsome guy is and why he's staring like he can see right through her. Lionel Valdir. Remember that name, because he's definitely going to be the main character in her new life. She keeps her cool, sitting there regally while the atmosphere in the room completely shifts in her favor. The whispers have changed from mockery to pure awe. She turned a humiliating weight into a display of absolute regal power. This blonde noblewoman, Elizabeth, is totally caught off guard. Adelaide just put every single person in this room in their place with one move. Elizabeth and her companion decide they need to go greet the future Empress right now. The tide has officially turned, baby. She introduces herself as Elizabeth Ulrich Grant. Talk about a complete 180 in attitude once they realized she's a boss. Ulrich joins in too. Everyone wants a piece of her now that she's shown she's definitely not a pushover. Adelaide handles it with so much grace, but she's low-key thinking, can we just get this wedding started so I can officially be in charge? She tells them she wants to hurry up and become an Ulrich. She's ready to claim her title and her power, and she's not hiding it. They're all laughing and totally charmed by her now. She's already winning over the court, and the emperor hasn't even shown his face yet. Everyone is agreeing. She already looks and acts like the perfect empress. The plan is working perfectly. She graciously offers them a seat too, showing them exactly who has the higher rank here. She's the one giving permissions now. Elizabeth is actually impressed. She's thinking about how Carl's face is going to look when he finally sees this. Oh, the tea is about to be piping hot. She can't wait for the emperor to walk in and see his supposedly docile bride running the entire show.
And speak of the devil, the doors are finally opening. Here comes the man of the hour, finally deciding to show up. Enter Emperor Karl Ulrich Egmont. He's gorgeous, sure, but look at that cold expression. He looks like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. Everyone immediately drops into a bow. The atmosphere just got ice cold the second he stepped into the room. He's walking down the aisle with so much arrogance. He doesn't even look at the people he's passing. It's like they're invisible. Every step he takes just screams, "I'm the boss and I'm incredibly annoyed to be here." He's such a mood, but not a good one. Look at that glare. He's already spotted her, and you can tell he is absolutely not happy with what he sees. He sees her sitting on that chair, and he is absolutely fuming. He expected her to be standing there trembling, not lounging like she owns the place. Adelaide stands up and calmly tells the attendants they can take the chair away now. The shade. I am living for this. The attendants scurry to move it. You can practically feel the power struggle happening in real time between these two. Carl is genuinely surprised. She's the literal embodiment of an empress, and it's clearly catching him off guard. She stares right back at him with those golden eyes. She is not intimidated by him at all, and it's making him crazy. He's getting even more irritated. He can't stand that he's not the only powerful person in the room anymore. They exchange the most formal, icy greetings. Girl, you could freeze a lake with the vibes between these two. Adelaide thinks he has a graceful face, but his beauty doesn't mask how cold-hearted he seems. The portrait definitely didn't do his coldness justice. She's already exhausted, and the ceremony hasn't even finished. Dealing with this man is going to be a full-time job. An attendant brings over the bouquet. It's finally time for the walk down the aisle. Let's see how this goes.
She takes the flowers, looking stunning, but her mind is already racing with a million different ways to handle this man. The attendant tells the emperor to take her hand and walk her down the aisle. Standard wedding stuff, right? Well, think again. Carl gives him the most terrifying look. He is absolutely not about to play nice for the cameras. He literally ignores her hand and just starts walking. The level of disrespect is actually insane. I'm fuming for her. Adelaide is stunned. She knew he was cold, but this? Doing this in front of the entire empire is a whole new level of petty. He's just leaving her there. My jaw is on the floor. He's trying to humiliate her in the most public way possible. The nobles are losing their minds. He refused to hold her hand. The gossip mill is going to be running for weeks over this. Even Lionel is like, what on earth? This is a disaster of epic proportions, and everyone is watching. Adelaide is fuming. You can see the anger radiating off her. She's definitely not going to take this lying down. She's literally shaking with rage. If looks could kill, Carl would be a goner right now. She's reaching her limit. The poor maid is terrified. She offers the bouquet again, but the entire vibe of the wedding is already ruined. Adelaide pushes it away with a sharp gesture. She doesn't need flowers to walk down an aisle and claim her throne. Carl is still walking ahead like he's the only person in the room. His arrogance is just on another level. She catches up to him and tells him to keep walking and not to stop. She's taking charge of the situation again, even if he hates it. He asks what she means, and she's just done with him. The fire in her eyes is absolutely terrifying. They're at the altar now, but the conversation they're having is anything but holy. This is war.
Carl brings up the fact that she asked if Diana was a maid. He's actually defending that girl at his own wedding. The nerve! While the priest is talking about God's will, Carl whispers the ultimate insult. I won't spend our first night with you. My heart just broke for her. Imagine being told that on your wedding day. He is truly a monster. They glance at each other, and the hatred is palpable. This is officially going to be the messiest marriage in history. Then, Adelaide just smirks. God's will? She thinks it's hilarious that he thinks he can just discard her like that. He has no idea who he's dealing with. The priest officially announces it. Adelaide Gottschalk has officially become Adelaide Ulrich Egmont. Damn it, she thinks. There's no turning back now. She's officially the Empress, and the real war is just beginning. Starting off with a little retail therapy, if you can call dropping literal gold bars little. Diana is paying for these dresses herself because she knows exactly how she needs to look. The Countess is a bit worried about the spending, but Diana is playing the long game. She wants to leave an impression of absolute generosity. To win the palace, you have to win the people first. But behind that calm face, she's already calculating her next move. She didn't just come here to play dress up. She's here to take over. The Countess looks like she's about to have a heart attack. She knows the political climate is reaching a boiling point. Diana can feel the tension in the air. Something is definitely wrong with how things are being run, and she's determined to find out what. Wait, did she just say there's no budget allocated to the Empress's palace? The absolute audacity. They've basically been trying to starve her out of her own position. So if she wants the money that's rightfully hers, she has to go straight to the source. It's time for a face-to-face with the Emperor himself. The news arrives that the clothing store owner is here, but Diana's mind is already halfway to the conference hall. She tells them to send the guests in, but she's already standing up. She's got places to be and a husband to confront. She leaves the Countess in charge of the details. She's got a much bigger battle to fight right now. The Countess looks at her with so much respect. She's finally seeing the true power Diana has been hiding. Diana's internal monologue is pure fire right now. If you know the enemy and yourself, you don't have to fear 100 battles. She's ready for war. The palace is buzzing today. Everyone can feel that something big is about to happen, and all eyes are on the main hall. The servants can't even hide their shock. Seeing the Empress walking toward the conference room like she owns the place is not something they're used to. She arrives just as a major conference is happening. Talk about a dramatic entrance. She looks absolutely stunning in that red, and she knows it.
She calmly requests an audience with His Majesty. The guards are scrambling because you just don't say no to that look in her eyes. When they suggest she wait in the drawing room, she shuts that down immediately. No, she'll wait right here in the conference waiting room where everyone can see her. Inside, things are getting intense. Count Calvin is literally begging for help. Apparently, his territory is being overrun by monsters from a mysterious tower. And there he is, the Emperor, looking as cold and unbothered as ever while his people are literally dying. The vibe in this room is toxic. The other ministers are just watching, most of them probably hoping they don't have to spend a single dime of their own resources. The older nobles look skeptical. They've heard these pleas before, but this time, the desperation feels different. Then this guy, Lennox Poitiers, speaks up, and he is a total jerk. He calls the Count's plea whining over a level 4 tower. Can you believe the nerve? He's basically mocking the Count for being scared. He's more worried about keeping the magicians at the palace for the Emperor's safety than helping a whole territory. The Count is falling apart. He's trying to explain that it's not just a level 4 tower anymore. The monsters are evolving and they're coming from the sky. Lennox just gets more aggressive, accusing the Count of being selfish. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a sword. Outside, Diana hears everything. Her eyes sharpen. She knows exactly what's happening in that room, and she's disgusted. She sits there, regal as ever, letting the anger simmer. She's gathering all the intel she needs to make her move. The Emperor looks like he's about to fall asleep. He really couldn't care less about the lives of his subjects, as long as his own castle is safe. Sir Lionel Valdir is watching the whole scene with a grim expression. He's one of the few who actually seems to have a soul in this room. Lennox is still going off, getting all red in the face. He's really enjoying this power trip, isn't he? Suddenly, someone slams their hand on the table. The room goes dead silent. The tension is finally snapped.
The Emperor has finally had enough of the noise. He looks like he's done with the whole conversation. He stares down at the paperwork, his eyes cold and dismissive. He's already made up his mind, and it's not good news for the Count. He tells the Count that sending magicians is unnecessary. Look at the poor man's face. He's literally crying. His home is doomed, and his king just doesn't care. The Emperor closes the meeting like he's just finishing a boring lunch. He tells everyone else to leave, completely ignoring the tragedy he just signed off on. The ministers start to clear out, whispering and murmuring. They've seen this coldness before, but it never gets easier to watch. Lionel and his brother are still there, looking incredibly disappointed. They know the Emperor is making a huge mistake. The Count is left in total despair. He truly believes it's all over for his people. It's honestly heartbreaking. Just as the room is clearing, the attendant informs the Emperor that Diana is waiting outside.
He seems genuinely surprised for once. His eyes narrow. He's probably wondering what his quiet wife wants now. He has no idea the storm that's about to walk through those doors. The nobles start exiting the room, and they all freeze when they see who's sitting there. The Empress herself, just casually chilling in the waiting room. She doesn't even stand up. She just sits there, looking like a literal goddess of vengeance, watching them all file out. She's memorizing their faces, especially the ones who were just arguing against helping the people. She's taking names, and she's definitely checking them twice. Those golden eyes are glowing with a very dangerous light. Diana is not playing around today. Then this older noble, an elder of the royal family, walks up and calls her niece-in-law. The disrespect is so blatant, it's almost funny. The other nobles are internally screaming, "You do not address the Empress like that in public." He's trying to belittle her, but it's going to backfire so hard. Diana just stares at him with a look that could freeze the sun. She doesn't say a word, letting the silence do the talking.
She's thinking, you really think you can talk to me like that? She's already decided how she's going to dismantle this man. He actually flinches. He thought he could bully her, but he's realizing very quickly that the woman in front of him is a predator, not prey. He tries to backpedal, making excuses about just wanting to seem friendly. Yeah, sure, buddy. We all saw what you were trying to do. She finally speaks, and it's a total power move. She tells him he chose the wrong way to be friendly and warns him to be careful in the future. Queen behavior. The man is shaking now. He mumbles that he'll keep it in mind, and he can't get away from her fast enough. Diana turns her attention to the next target. She sees Sir Lionel Valdir, and her expression softens just a tiny bit. Lionel bows deeply, showing her the respect she actually deserves. He knows a true leader when he sees one. She gives him a small smile, but those eyes are still sharp. She's got questions, and she knows he's the one with the answer. She asks him to point out Count Calvin. She heard the whole thing, and she's not about to let that man leave without a sliver of hope. She approaches the Count, who is still looking like his world just ended. He can't believe the Empress is actually talking to him. He's so confused and broken, he doesn't even know how to react. He just stares at her like she's an angel who lost her way. She gets straight to the point, asking about the aerial monsters and why no magicians were sent. She's cutting through all the political nonsense. Lionel is watching her closely. He's impressed. She's doing more for the people in 5 minutes than the Emperor did in the whole meeting. Then Lennox Poitiers tries to butt in, introducing himself as the vice captain of the magic department. Ugh, this guy again. Diana gives him the most dismissive nice to meet you ever. She knows exactly who he is, the one who was mocking the Count earlier. The Count and Lionel are just standing there, stunned by her boldness. She's standing up to the very man who just shut down the aid request.
Lennox tries to act all superior, saying he's doing his best to protect the palace, and that she basically doesn't know what she's talking about. Diana just smirks. Is that so? She can see right through him. He's looking down on her, and that is a fatal mistake. The attendant calls her in. The Emperor is ready to see her now. The real showdown is about to begin. She walks past the nobles, her head held high. She doesn't even give them a second glance. They're irrelevant now. Lennox and the Count are left in her wake, both of them reeling for very different reasons. She's changed the whole atmosphere of the palace. Look at that exit, or entrance, rather. She's walking into the lion's den, but we all know who the real lion is in this marriage. Lionel watches her go, thinking to himself that she hasn't changed at all. She's just finally showing her true colors, and those colors are brilliant. The wedding ceremony might be over, but for Diana, the real drama is only just starting. She's looking out at the palace grounds like she's already planning her next 3 moves. The palace staff is already buzzing. You can practically hear the whispers echoing through the halls as they try to figure out what happens next. One of the maids mentions that Diana hasn't eaten in days. Is she actually sick? Or is this just more of her high-stakes acting to get attention? Diana's got that sharp, icy look in her eyes again. She's definitely not in the mood for any mistakes from the help today. The maids are starting to realize they're walking on very thin ice. One wrong word and it's game over for them. You can see the sheer panic on this maid's face. She knows she just messed up big time, and Diana is not the forgiving type. She tries to bow and apologize, calling her my lady, but that was her first and final mistake. Diana's eye catches every little detail. She's focused, she's angry, and she's about to make a point that no one will ever forget. She gets right in the maid's space, her voice probably dropping to that terrifyingly calm whisper. This is where things get real ugly. She grabs the poor girl by the chin, forcing her to look at who's really in charge here. The power trip is in full swing. Diana reminds her exactly where they are. This isn't just some noble's house. This is the royal palace, and she's the one who calls the shots. How dare you call me a lady? She's absolutely losing it. To her, lady is a demotion she's not willing to accept. The maid is literally in tears now, trembling under Diana's grip. It's brutal to watch, but Diana doesn't care about her feeling. She's cold as ice. No empathy, no hesitation. She wants total submission from every single person in this building. She tosses the girl aside like she's nothing. A clear message to everyone else. Learn your place or get out. She demands to be addressed as Your Highness. She's claiming the Ivory Palace as her own. Empress or no Empress.
The maid is left sobbing on the floor. Diana has officially established her reign of terror for the day. She brushes it all off like it was nothing more than a minor annoyance and says she's going to lie down. The drama is exhausting, apparently. The other maid is just trying to stay invisible at this point. She asks if she should call a physician since Diana is feeling faint. Diana gives her the okay. She's playing the fragile card now, and we all know who she wants to come running when she hears she's sick. Meanwhile, the Empress is dealing with her own set of problems. She's realizing that being the official wife doesn't mean she has all the power. She's sitting there, looking regal, but totally isolated. She knows she can't trust anyone in this palace, not even the maids. She's trying to piece the puzzle together, but there are so many missing parts. Her eyes are full of a very dangerous kind of determination. She realizes that because their kingdoms were so distant, she has zero intel on Diana. Information is the one thing she needs most right now. It's frustrating. She's the Empress, but she's flying blind in a palace full of people who would rather see her fail. And then there's Carl. He's the biggest mystery of all. He tells the Empress not to get greedy, like she's the one out of line here. Adelaide is fuming inside. The disrespect is just mounting up, and she's not the type to just sit back and take it. She clenches her hand so hard her knuckles are probably white. She's holding back a tidal wave of rage right now. She can't get over the fact that he went straight to Diana on their wedding day. It's the ultimate slap in the face. Back at the Ivory Palace, the sun is setting, but the tension is only rising. Someone's coming, and we all know who it is. The door bursts open. No knocking, no waiting. Only one person in this palace has that kind of audacity. It's Carl. He's still in his wedding suit, looking every bit the emperor, but his first stop isn't his new wife's room.
He finds Diana looking like a tragic heroine in her big, fancy bed. He just stands there, watching her sleep. His face is a complete mask. You can't tell if he's worried, guilty, or just plain tired of all the game. Diana looks so peaceful, but you just know she's aware of exactly who is standing in that room. She starts mumbling in her sleep, calling out for Carl. It's the perfect way to pull at his heartstrings without even being awake. He's towering over her, this powerful man reduced to checking on his lover while his Empress sits alone. It's such a mess. She finally wakes up and sees him. She's got that wide-eyed, innocent look down to a science. He asks if she's fully awake. His voice is probably low and gravelly, the kind of tone that makes you forget he's a jerk for a second. She immediately goes for the guilt trip, telling him he shouldn't be here. She knows that's the fastest way to make him stay. I've always been a nuisance to you. She is laying it on so thick. She's playing the victim perfectly. She tells him to hurry up and go back to the Empress. She's basically daring him to choose her over his new wife. And Carl, being Carl, tells her he already told the Empress he isn't going. He's choosing Diana, and she knows she's won this round. She catches his eye, and for a split second, you can see the triumph behind her tears. She's got him right where she wants him. She starts talking about the wedding, how she chose the dress, the crown, everything. She's reminding him of her sacrifice. She looks so heartbroken, like she's the one who lost everything today. It's a masterclass in manipulation. My heart feels like it's being ripped apart. She's really going for the emotional jugular now. But Carl just looks at her with that same emotionless gaze. He's like a wolf. You think you've tamed him, but he's always one step away from biting.
She asks him how she's supposed to introduce herself to the Empress now. She's fishing for a status, something to hold over Adelaide's head. She says the nobles will just call her a mistress now. She's basically demanding he give her a title that commands respect. She waits for his answer, her breath hitched. This is the moment she's been building up to all day. She tells him she wants the Empress to call her His Majesty's lover. She's not just asking for a title, she's asking for a weapon. Carl just watches her, his expression unreadable.
He's seeing her weak spots and deciding if he wants to play along. She gives him that soft, hopeful look. She knows she's touching his weak spots too, and he's giving in. She reaches out her hand, a silent invitation for him to stay even closer. Please hold me. She's sealing the deal. She wants him to forget all about the wedding and the Empress and only focus on her. He pulls her in, and for a moment, they're just two people in a room. But we know it's way more complicated than that. As she leans against him, the mask slips just a tiny bit. She's not just here for love. She's here to make sure that Empress title is worthless. This is war.
Girl, you would not believe the rumors flying around the palace today. Everyone is whispering, and the tea is absolutely piping hot. They're saying the emperor didn't even spend a wedding night with his new wife. As soon as the ceremony ended, he bolted straight to the ivory palace to be with his mistress. The empress has basically gone into hiding, refusing to see any visitors. But let's be real, no amount of privacy is going to save her from this level of embarrassment. The ladies are literally laughing behind their fans, saying she can't even handle a mistress. It's brutal out here, and the disrespect is reaching a whole new level. They're getting so bold with their gossip, poking fun at the situation like it's a comedy show. But wait, someone just realized they're not as alone as they thought. Talk about an awkward moment. And there she is. Adele walks in looking like absolute royalty, shutting down the chatter just by existing. You could hear a pin drop. The Empress has arrived, and she looks completely unfazed by the snakes in the garden. Look at them scrambling. They were just talking trash, and now they're bowing like their lives depend on it. The hypocrisy is real. Adele just gives them a slight nod. She's not even going to give them the satisfaction of a real reaction. That is how you handle Mean Girl. As she walks away, the ladies are shaking. They're terrified she heard every single word of their nasty little conversation. But once she's behind closed doors, the mask finally slips. Adele is exhausted, and honestly, who can blame her? She drops into her chair, the weight of everything finally hitting her. It's one thing to be strong in public, but this is a lot for anyone to handle. She braced herself for this, but the reality of being treated like an outsider in her own palace is harder than she ever imagined. She thinks back to why she's here alone. She didn't bring anyone from her homeland because she didn't want them to suffer through this exile with her. She tells herself to get it together. No more reminiscing about the past. It's time to focus on how to survive this den of vipers.
Meanwhile, the wedding festivities are still going on. In this empire, the banquets are a 3-day marathon. And of course, Diana is right in the middle of it all, acting like she's the one who should be wearing the crown. Diana is feeling herself way too much. She's convinced that she worked for her status, while Adele just got lucky by being born a princess. She's looking at the throne like it's already hers. She's determined to make sure Adele never even gets a chance to sit in that chair today. Diana is out for blood. She wants to be the main character of every event, from the wedding to the first banquet. In her mind, that place was always meant for her, and she's not going to let a lucky princess take it without a fight. She's literally planning to sabotage the Empress before the banquet even starts. The level of pettiness is off the charts. Back in Adele's room, things are going south. The maids are apologizing because none of the dresses they received actually fit. They're blaming it on different metric systems, but Adele isn't buying it. Her wedding dress fit perfectly, so why wouldn't these? The sabotage cuss is so tight it's literally ripping. It's obvious someone did this on purpose to humiliate her. Adele just sighs and tells them to get it mended. She's trying to stay calm, even though she knows exactly what's happening. The maids are hesitating because mending a dress to be larger is almost impossible on such short notice. Adele realizes that while she was busy fighting monsters and towers back home, she might have underestimated the war inside this palace. She remembers the warnings she was given. People in this empire never rest from their internal wars, and she can't afford to lower her guard for even a second. She's stuck between two bad choices: skip her own wedding banquet or try to squeeze into a dress that's clearly meant to make her look ridiculous. Then it clicks. Diana Poitier was the one managing all the wedding preparations. This wasn't an accident. It was a trap. And the emperor gave his permission for all of this? It's beyond ridiculous. They really think they can break her with a small dress? Adele has a better idea. If they want a show, she'll give them one. She orders the maids to bring her the wedding dress and a gold crown. She's done playing nice. They think she's just some weak princess, but they're about to find out why she's called the Witch of Gotrov. Over at the banquet hall, the party is in full swing, and everyone is laughing, assuming the Empress won't show up. The gossip is that she can't wear the dress because she's too big for it, or she'll show up in her own country's clothes and look like a total outsider. Diana is soaking up the attention, thanking everyone for their compliments on how she organized the event.
She's acting like she's already the host. She's even wearing a new jewelry set that she supposedly bought out entirely. She's flaunting her wealth and favor for everyone to see. The noble ladies are eating it up, talking about how much the emperor must love her to visit her on his wedding night. Diana puts on this fake modest act, saying she feels guilty towards the Empress. Girl, please, we all know you're loving this. She's looking down on everyone, thinking about how these noble ladies are all just currying favor with her now. She keeps playing the victim, saying she told the emperor to go to his wife, but he just wouldn't listen. It's such a calculated lie, and the nobles are falling for it, asking her for favors like tax exemptions and military help, as if she's the one in charge. Diana is thrilled. She loves the power. She loves that everyone is looking to her instead of the actual empress. She's even bragging about how the emperor ordered all palace affairs to be delegated to her. She thinks her authority is already bigger than Adele's. But then, someone makes a dangerous statement about her authority, and the mood starts to shift. Enter Sir Valdir from the Duke's family. Finally, someone with some actual backbone shows up.
The older nobles are getting nervous. They know Sir Valdir isn't someone you want to mess with. He's not buying Diana's little act at all. He's looking right through her. And her brother is starting to get defensive. Diana's brother is trying to act tough, but you can tell he's out of his league here. Diana is panicking internally. She knows that fighting with Lionel Valdir right here is going to be a disaster for her reputation. Lionel is cold as ice. He asks them if they even remember who this banquet is actually for. He tells the brother to watch his mouth and know his place. It is absolutely satisfying to see someone finally shut them down. The brother is fuming, but before he can do anything stupid, the announcement everyone's been waiting for finally rings out. All rise for Her Majesty. The room goes silent. This was not part of Diana's plan. Everyone turns toward the entrance, their eyes wide with shock. They really thought she wouldn't show up. And then Adele walks in. She isn't wearing the sabotage dress. She's wearing her full wedding gown, and she looks absolutely magnificent. Lionel watches her with this look of pure respect. She's making the grandest entrance possible, and it's working. Diana is staring in disbelief. Her jaw is practically on the floor. She cannot believe Adele had the audacity to wear her wedding dress to the banquet, but it's a genius move. By wearing the wedding dress, Adele is reminding everyone exactly who she is and why she's there. She walks toward the throne with so much grace and power. Every step she takes is a message to everyone who doubted her. The crowd is stunned. The whispers have completely stopped, replaced by sheer awe. Lionel can't take his eyes off her. She's not just a princess. She's a queen taking her rightful place.
Adele doesn't look at Diana once. She just keeps moving forward, her head held high under that gold crown. She reaches the stairs to the throne, the long train of her dress trailing behind her like a royal banner. She stands before the chairs, the red carpet beneath her feet. This is her house now, and she's making sure everyone knows it. Diana is fuming. She's realized her plan backfired in the most public way possible. She tried to make Adele look small, and instead, Adele looks bigger than ever. Adele finally turns to address the room. The silence is heavy, and the tension is high. Everyone is holding their breath, waiting to see what she'll say after such a dramatic entrance. She just smiles, a cool, elegant smile, and says, "Seems like I'm a bit late, everyone." Queen behavior. She absolutely owned that room.
Girl, can we just talk about the entrance? The Empress is stepping onto the Emperor's stairs, the ones literally no one else is allowed to touch without a single care in the world. She looks absolutely radiant. If anyone thought she was going to hide away in shame after everything that's happened, they were dead wrong. She's here to claim her throne. Look at that face in the crowd. The shock is real. Nobody expected her to show up looking this unbothered and this powerful. The tension in the room is so thick you could cut it with a knife. The guests are frozen, realize the entire vibe of the banquet just shifted. She locks eyes with Duke Desvanel and asks him so casually if he enjoyed his dinner. Talk about a power move, acting like everything is totally normal. The Duke and Poitiers are standing there like statues. You can see the gears turning in their heads as they try to process her sudden appearance. She takes her seat with the grace of a queen who knows she's the main character. She's not just attending, she's presiding. That silence, that's the sound of everyone losing their minds. She's just sitting there, cool as a cucumber, waiting for the first person to crack. The whispers start immediately. What do we do? Who goes first? They're all terrified of making the wrong move in front of her. Then we hear it. The sound of a confident step. Someone is finally brave enough to break the ice. It's Lionel Valdir. He steps up, addressing her with the respect she deserves. You can see the intensity in his eyes. She recognizes him immediately. Lionel Valdir. He's not just anyone. He's a player on this chessboard. He bows deeply, offering his deepest respects to Her Majesty. It's a public acknowledgement of her authority, and you know that's got a sting for her enemy. She gives them a polite, "nice meeting you all," and points out that they must be the Duke's vassals. She's sharp, keeping everyone in their place. Now that one person has stepped forward, the floodgates are open. Everyone is rushing to get their greetings in, worried they'll look disrespectful if they don't.
But check out that girl in the back. She's fuming because the Empress hasn't looked her way even once. She's being treated like the help, and she hates it. She's thinking, fine, if you won't look at me, I'll make you look at me. You can tell she's about to do something desperate for attention. She literally bumps into someone on purpose. A total classic mean girl move to cause a scene. The Empress doesn't even flinch. She just watches as the drama unfolds, probably thinking how pathetic this all is. And here she comes, Lady Poitiers, making a grand show of presenting herself. The crowd is living for it, whispering about how she only dares to do this because the Emperor loves her. She introduces herself with that fake sweet voice. "My name is Diana Poitiers." Ugh, please, we know who you are, honey. The Empress sees right through her. She knows Poitiers is just trying to incite the people and make her look like the villain. Poitiers starts bragging about how she prepared the wedding and the banquet. She asks, "How is it? Do you like it?" She's really trying to rub it in. The crowd is holding their breath. This is the ultimate showdown between the wife and the mistress. Who's going to win this round? The Empress just stares at her, cold and calculating. She's not giving her an inch of satisfaction. The guests are sweating. They know they're witnessing a social execution. They just don't know who's on the chopping block yet. Then the Empress speaks. "You've worked hard, Lady Poitiers." It sounds like a compliment, but we know better. She tells her not to be upset that she didn't wear the banquet dress Poitiers prepared. Oh, here it comes. She drops the bomb. It was too small in size. She even takes a sip of wine while saying it. The level of shade is astronomical. Poitier's face just drops. She realized her little plan to humiliate the Empress by giving her a tiny dress totally backfired. The crowd is losing it. They're whispering, "Wait, the dress was too small? Did she do that on purpose?" The Empress just flipped the script on her.
They're realizing Poitiers might not be as innocent as she looks. The Empress is playing chess, while this girl is playing house. Suddenly, the mood shifts again. The Emperor has arrived, and he does not look happy. The guests are panicking. Why is he here now? Is this going to make it worse? Spoiler alert, yes, it is. He marches in like he owns the room, but the Empress is still sitting on that throne like she's the one in charge. His eyes go straight to Poitiers. He's already choosing a side before he even knows what's happening. He sees Poitiers looking all sad and realizes the Empress has the crowd under control. He thinks she's a natural at ruling, and he hates how good she is at it. He looks at her like she's a monster. He's convinced she's the kind of woman who wouldn't shed a drop of blood if she was stabbed. He clearly doesn't know her at all. He looks at Poitiers, and of course, she starts crying on cue. She's playing the victim perfectly. He asks her, "Diana?" with so much concern it's nauseating. He's completely fallen for her act. She looks up at him with those big, watery eyes, and you just know she's about to lie through her teeth. The Empress is just over here like, "What the? Does he really think I made her cry?" The audacity is through the roof. She's genuinely shocked by how easily he's manipulated. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. He demands to know what they're doing. The Empress fires back. "That's what I want to ask." She's not backing down. She tells him they were just exchanging greetings. Simple as that. But he's already decided she's the bully. He asks what kind of greeting would make someone cry like that. He's being so dramatic, it's embarrassing. The Empress is like, "I'm curious too. Let's ask the lady herself." She's calling Poitier's bluff right now. Poitiers stammers out, "I just wanted to greet Her Majesty." Oh, she's laying it on thick now. The Emperor looks at the Empress with pure disgust. He doesn't even want to hear her side of the story. He just turns his back on her. The level of disrespect is insane. He's choosing his mistress over his wife in front of the whole court. He takes his seat, looking like he's the one who's been wronged. He's so delusional. The Empress watches him, her face a mask of indifference, but you know she's boiling underneath. The musicians start playing again, trying to cover up the awkwardness, but everyone can feel the hostility. The party continues, but the air is filled with fake laughter and judgmental stares. This is a nightmare social event. The Empress is just staring into space. She's realized her husband is a lost cause, and she's already planning her next move. Then he has the nerve to tell her,
Don't be interested in her, as if she's the one obsessed with his lover. He tells her Poitiers is his lover, and to keep her nose out of her business. He's basically marking his territory like an animal. The Empress just smiles. She has this habit of smiling when she feels absolutely awful. It's her defense mechanism. She tells him, "Then I won't poke my nose around your lover. Do you understand?" She's being so condescending. I love it. She adds, "Can you please relay those words to your lover? I've only met her twice, and she approached me both times." She's setting the record straight. She's not the one chasing after Poitiers. It's the other way around. Boom, mic drop. He just sits there, drinking his wine, ignoring the truth. He's so blinded by his love that he can't see he's being played. The guests are all watching, judging every little movement. They're like vultures waiting for someone to fail.
The Empress is still holding that glass, looking perfectly composed. But inside, she's screaming. Lionel is watching her from across the room. He can tell she's struggling to keep it together, even if nobody else can. He thinks to himself that she doesn't look like she's losing her composure. It looks like she's trying not to lose it. He sees right through her mask. And then she's had enough. She retreats, but she's so angry that her power is starting to leak out. She's at her breaking point. Damn it, she thinks. She's never had to deal with this kind of blatant insult before. A dress too small to wear, never-ending sneers. She's recounting all the ways they've tried to break her today. She's not used to being insulted like this. She's royalty, for goodness sake. Her pride is wounded, and that's a dangerous thing. Her mana is literally shaking because her emotions are so overwhelming. Look at the chandelier. It's actually swaying. The whole room is vibrating with her fury. She's a ticking time bomb, and everyone is about to find out just how powerful she really is. She's standing there, surrounded by beauty, but she's in a living hell. This banquet might be over, but the war is just heating up. Get ready, because she is done playing nice. Adelaide is just standing there, letting the weight of everything sink in. She's the Empress now, but she feels more like a bird in a gilded cage than a ruler. She looks so serene, but behind that calm face, her mind is racing a mile a minute. She knows she can't just sit back and let things happen to her. But then, reality hits. She's leaning over that table, basically telling herself, "Okay, girl, breathe. It's still too soon to make a massive scene." Look at that look in her eyes. That is the look of a woman who is calculating every single move. She knows she has to play the long game. So, what does any stressed-out queen do? She pours herself a drink. If she's going to endure this mess, she's going to do it with a glass of wine. She's literally drinking away the frustration of being stuck in this drama. She's trying to figure out why Diana Poitiers is acting the way she is. But the real question on her mind is Karl Ulrich. Like, what is actually wrong with this guy? She's thinking if he loved Diana so much that he couldn't breathe without her, he should have just made her the Empress and spared everyone the headache. Instead, he drags innocent people into this mess. Do they really think there's some kind of tragic star-crossed lovers in a romance novel? Please. And then she remembers her father's words. He always told her to act like she has everything, even when she has nothing. Her father, the king, knew that perception is everything in the world of royalty. You never show weakness. She takes a deep breath. She knows that an empress who isn't acknowledged by the emperor is just a title holder, and the vultures will rip her apart if they find out she's powerless. The next morning, the sun is shining on the palace, but the mood is still tense. Adelaide is ready to start making some power moves. She calls in the staff and gets straight to the point. She wants to know exactly who is in charge of the palace's general management. The maids look totally nervous. They tell her that currently the position is actually vacant. Adelaide's internal alarm bells go off. She asks if Diana Poitiers is the one filling that gap temporarily. She already knows the answer.
The maid hesitates, but confirms it. Yep, Diana is already playing house with the palace management. Adelaide is not having it. She asks who the former manager was. They tell her it was Countess Hannah Kix. Now that's a name Adelaide can work with. She immediately orders them to summon Lady Kix. She's not asking, she's demanding her presence right now. And she's not stopping there. She needs the latest editions of all the Empire's law books. She's going to school herself on her right. She's spending her time studying, realizing the emperor basically handed Diana all the keys to the kingdom while Adelaide was getting settled. She slams the book shut. It's lucky that the empress's inherent power is bestowed upon appointment, or she'd be in real trouble. A maid knocks and interrupts her study session. It seems she has a visitor waiting. Adelaide looks up, composed and ready. Whoever this is, they're about to see the Empress in full don't mess with me mode. And here she is, Duchess Grand. She looks absolutely stunning, like she walked right out of a high society painting. Adelaide welcomes her, noting that this is their first real meeting since the wedding. She was actually planning on seeking her out soon anyway. The Duchess doesn't waste time with small talk. She asks for a private meeting, signaling that the tea is about to be spilled. Adelaide gets the hint and tells everyone else to clear the room. She needs to hear what the Duchess has to say. Looking at her up close, Adelaide thinks the Duchess looks smaller than expected, but she definitely doesn't think she's weak. She's the kind of person who makes you feel the pressure just by sitting there. Adelaide takes a sip of tea, keeping her cool. The Duchess starts off by saying she's very fond of Adelaide. That's a bold opening move in this political chess game. She mentions she heard Adelaide called Countess Hannah Kicks back to the palace. She notes that Hannah used to be her own nursemaid.
Adelaide just stares her down. May I ask why you're telling me this? She's not here for the nostalgia trip. The Duchess sets her cup down with a purposeful clink. She knows exactly what Adelaide is trying to do, strengthen her position. She reminds Adelaide that Diana has the Emperor's affection and the massive power of Duke Desvanel behind her. Everyone in the palace is currently on their side. Adelaide cuts through the fluff. What's in it for you, Duchess Grand, if I strengthen my position as Empress? The Duchess loves that she went straight to the point. No more talking in circles. They're finally getting real. She explains that the Emperor is currently stuck between Diana and the Duke, and because of that, he's failing to run the empire properly. She wants Adelaide to sever the link between them and the Emperor. She thinks bringing back Countess Kicks is a great first step. Then she drops a suggestion. Adelaide needs to look for an aide. Not just any aide, though. She explains that while palace managers are usually women, an Empress's aide is usually a man. It's a strategic move. Adelaide is listening closely. This is getting interesting. The Duchess is talking about power moves used by former Empresses. Adelaide lets out a little smirk. So are you saying that since the Emperor has a mistress, I should have one too? The Duchess doesn't even flinch. She says she's not suggesting a revenge affair, but she is suggesting a fighting spirit. She tells Adelaide that if she does nothing after being humiliated in front of everyone, people will think the Empress is no better than the mistress. Then she gives her a specific tip. If Duke Valdir's family sends an applicant, Adelaide should choose them without a second thought. We get a glimpse into why Countess Kicks was dismissed. She was loyal to the late Empress, which made her a target for Diana. Hannah Kicks was a powerhouse in the palace for a long time, dominating as an influential figure.
But then Diana Poitiers showed up and everything changed. Diana is literally the spitting image of the Emperor's birth mother. Diana was the one who caused the late Empress so much grief that it led to her early death. Talk about a villain origin story. As soon as Diana got a taste of power, her first order was to get rid of Countess Kicks. She wanted all the old loyalty purged. But now, that dishonorably dismissed woman has been summoned back by the newly enthroned Empress. The tables are turning. Adelaide is sitting there looking regal as ever. She knows that by bringing Hannah back, she's sending a massive message to Diana. Lady Kicks is actually moved to tears. She's overwhelmed to be back in the palace after being cast out like she was nothing. Adelaide notices that the Countess is looking around, seeing that the place still looks the same as it did back in the day. The Countess touches a sofa she actually chose herself years ago. It's a bittersweet moment for her. She realizes it might be time for things to be replaced, though. The old ways are gone, but a new era is starting. Adelaide looks her in the eye and asks if it's possible for her to take over those palace jobs again. She needs someone she can trust. Lady Kicks warns her that the Emperor won't take this favorably. He's the one who let Diana fire her in the first place. Adelaide doesn't care. She just wants to know if Lady Kicks is okay with it. She's ready to fight that battle. The Countess puts her hand to her chest. She says it would be her absolute joy to serve the Empress again. The alliance is formed. But then, another maid rushes in with some news that sounds like a total headache. What now? Adelaide looks over at her, sensing the panic. It turns out the dress she recently ordered have arrived, but there's a huge problem. Lady Kicks tells the maid to explain herself properly. No more hesitating. The maid drops the bombshell. The royal palace treasury said they can't proceed with the payment for the Empress's dresses. Adelaide is absolutely stunned. What? This is a direct insult to her status and her authority. She's thinking, this is preposterous. They're literally trying to starve her of resources to make her look pathetic. She rubs her temples. The audacity of these people is just off the charts. She needs to think of a way around this. She wonders if it's better to just pay for them out of her own pocket. She doesn't want the rumors to spread that the Empress is broke. Lady Kicks agrees. Rumors would be terrible for her prestige. It's better to pay them off and keep them quiet. Adelaide looks determined. She won't meet the dressmakers directly, but she'll make sure they get their money. She tells the maid to go and bring the dressmakers in. She's going to handle this her way. She walks over to her private stash, looking like a woman on a mission. If they want to play dirty, she's got the means to fight back. She reaches into a bag.
Yeah, Adelaide has her own resources, and she's not afraid to use them. She never thought she'd have to use her backup funds this soon, but if they want a war, she's ready to go at it properly. Watch out, Palette.
The silence between a husband and wife should be comfortable, but between Diana and the Emperor, it's a frigid wasteland. She enters his study not as a beloved bride, but as a political opponent seeking an audience. Every step she takes across the marble floor echoes with a newfound resolve. She isn't here to beg for his affection. She's here to demand clarity in a palace built on secrets. As she settles into the chair across from him, the power dynamic shifts. She is no longer the trembling girl from across the sea, but the Empress of Egmont. Carl doesn't even look up at first, his voice dripping with an indifference that would have cut her just days ago. Now, it only fuels her fire. She looks him straight in the eye and asks the question that has been haunting her. Why did he propose this marriage? What was the point of bringing her here? Kara looks at her with a mixture of annoyance and genuine confusion, as if the answer should be obvious to anyone with half a brain. He finally speaks, and his words are a calculated strike to her pride. He didn't marry her for her lineage, her mind, or her heart. His gaze turns sharp, cold, and utterly dismissive. He looks at her as if she's nothing more than a piece of furniture he was forced to acquire. Diana braces herself for the insult, refusing to let her eyes waver even as her heart hammers against her ribs. He reaches for his quill, his movements slow and deliberate, emphasizing just how little her presence truly matters to him. He compares her to the decorative vein on his quill, a useless, pretty thing that exists solely for appearance. To him, she has already fulfilled her entire role by simply existing. The cruelty of his words hangs in the air, a blunt reminder that in this palace, she is viewed as a living ornament, a placeholder with no voice. But Diana isn't finished. She leans in, her voice low and dangerous. Was all of this just an elaborate shield to protect his mistress, Diana Poitiers? Carl's silence is the only confirmation she needs. The realization that she was bought and paid for to act as a decoy for another woman's safety is a bitter pill to swallow. She sees the truth in his eyes. He doesn't care if she's hated by the court or lonely in her bed, as long as his precious Poitiers remains untouched. He doesn't even bother to deny it. To him, the arrangement is perfectly logical, and her feelings on the matter are irrelevant. Beneath the table, Diana clenches her fist so hard her nails bite into her palms. If he wants a decoration, she'll give him one, but it will be a decoration with teeth. She stands abruptly, a cold smile touching her lips. If she is to exist merely as the Empress, then she will play the part to its absolute fullest. She informs him that as the Empress of Egmont, she intends to carry out her duties with terrifying efficiency. She isn't asking for his permission, she's informing him of the new reality. She requests his cooperation, a polite term for staying out of her way while she begins to dismantle the status quo. To understand the inner workings of this viper's nest, she needs a consultant, someone who knows where the bodies are buried. Carl watches her, his curiosity finally piqued by this sudden display of spine. He asks what kind of cooperation she could possibly need. She points out the obvious flaw in the current system. The palace overseer is Diana Poitiers. There is no world in which the Empress consults with her husband's mistress. Carl's expression remains unreadable, though there's a flicker of something, perhaps respect, or perhaps just wary surprise, at her boldness.
She demands the return of Countess Hannah Kix, the former overseer who was unceremoniously cast out when Poitiers took over. Carl repeats the name, the weight of the past clearly heavy in his mind. Hannah Kix was a loyalist to the previous regime, a woman of formidable power. Diana knows exactly what she's doing. By bringing back a woman Carl exiled, she's planting a flag of rebellion right in the heart of the palace. He grants her request with a dismissive wave, likely thinking it a small price to pay for her silence. But Diana isn't done yet. She turns to leave, her silhouette framed by the light of the study, a queen reclaiming her domain one step at a time.
She stops at the door to deliver the final blow. The Empress's palace has no budget. She expects an emergency supplement, and she expects it immediately. As she walks away, the rustle of her red dress sounds like a battle cry. It's a color that symbolizes her rank, but for Carl, it triggers a much darker memory. He remembers another woman in that same shade of red, a woman who reached for him only to be ignored, a woman whose trails of skirts were always just out of his reach. The ghosts of his childhood haunt the room. He hears the echoes of a mother being told she would never be acknowledged, a cycle of neglect he is now repeating. He sees the tears of a boy who was never enough, and the cold face of an empress who never cared. The trauma of his past is bleeding into his present. Carl sinks into his chair, a rare moment of vulnerability cracking his stoic facade. The weight of the crown is nothing compared to the weight of his own resentment. He realizes with a jolt of anger that the Empress's palace budget was never revised. Someone has been undermining his authority, or at least ignoring his orders. He summons his attendant, his voice sharp and impatient. The game is changing, and he needs to know who else is playing. He gives a single, chilling command: summon Diana. He needs to see his mistress, the woman who has been ruling in the shadows while he looked the other way. Diana Poitiers enters the room like a ray of sunshine, her bright yellow dress a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere. She greets him with the practiced grace of a woman who knows she is favored. She plays the role of the innocent, devoted lover perfectly, asking what she could possibly have done to deserve his summons. Carl doesn't fall for the act this time. He looks at her with a critical eye, the Empress's demands still ringing in his ears. She smiles sweetly, confirming that she has indeed brought the palace budget papers as requested. Carl's gaze remains fixed on the documents. He isn't looking for her affection right now. He's looking for the missing funds she was supposed to allocate to the Empress.
When he asks why the Empress was left with nothing, Poitier's facade finally begins to crumble. Her eyes go wide, her breath hitching in her throat. She tries to play it off as a simple mistake, a lapse in memory amidst the stress of the wedding preparations. The tears start to flow, the ultimate weapon in her arsenal. She knows exactly how to manipulate Carl's pity, or so she thinks. But Carl's expression is one of mounting frustration. He's seen this performance too many times, and today it feels hollow. He tells her to stop crying, calling her a crybaby with a tone that is more exhausted than affectionate. He pushes a handkerchief toward her, a gesture of duty rather than love. Poitiers sobs into the silk, worriedly asking if the Empress was displeased. She's fishing for information, trying to gauge how much trouble she's actually in. As Carl watches her weep, he is struck by a sudden, jarring comparison. The way she cries, the way she clings to him, it reminds him of the mother he both loved and loathed. He looks at her and sees a reflection of his own pathetic past, a cycle of emotional manipulation that he's tired of feeding. He remembers his mother's desperate voice, her constant need for validation, and he feels a surge of cold clarity. He delivers the news with a voice like ice. He is transferring all Empress-related duties back to the Empress's palace. Her days of playing regent are over. Poitier's eyes snap open, her tears instantly forgotten. This wasn't part of the script. She was supposed to be the one in control. Meanwhile, outside the palace walls, rumors are already beginning to spread. The nobility is watching, sensing a shift in the winds of power. Two men discuss the failure of Duke d'Esfonel's plan. They expected a puppet empress from across the sea, someone easily controlled and eventually discarded. But Diana has proven them wrong. She has a presence that can dominate a room without saying a word, and a face that commands attention from even the most cynical lords. They speculate on why she was sent away from her homeland. Was she too powerful for her own brother's throne? Was her mother, the Dowager Empress, afraid of her own daughter's potential? The younger man, Lionel, listens with a focused intensity. He's seen many women in his time, but none quite like her. He finds himself unable to forget the first moment they met. There's something about Diana that lingers in his mind, a magnetic pull he can't quite explain. He sees her not as a decoration or a political pawn, but as a force to be reckoned with. And for a man like Lionel, that is the most dangerous attraction of all. Back in the quiet of her own chambers, Diana allows herself a moment of peace. The tea is warm, but the news brought by her new allies is even better. She meets with Lady Kix, who has already begun auditing the palace's accounts. The dress payment is complete, but there are other, more pressing matters. Diana notices the hesitation in the older woman's voice. She's learned to listen to what isn't being said. Lady Kix looks at the Empress with a mixture of respect and caution. She has seen many queens fall, and she doesn't want Diana to be the next. She asks if Diana chose her current dress herself. It seems like a trivial question, but in this court, everything is a message. Diana explains that she simply approved a design recommended by the maids. To her, it was just a garment. To the rest of the palace, it was a ghost. Lady Kix insists on ordering new dresses immediately. Her urgency is a warning that Diana cannot afford to ignore. Diana's gaze sharpens. She asks if the design goes against some formality she isn't aware of. She needs to know exactly what landmine she just stepped on. The answer is chilling. The dress looks exactly like the late Empress's clothes. By wearing it, Diana is unintentionally reminding Carl of the mother he tries so hard to forget. It would irritate the Emperor beyond measure, potentially undoing all the progress she made in the study. Diana realizes she is surrounded by shadows she can't even see yet. She agrees to the change, her mind already racing. She needs more than just an overseer. She needs a network. Her next move is clear. She must meet with Count Calvin and begin building an empire of her own. In the cold silence of the night, the palace remains a cage of gold and shadows, hiding the bitter wounds that have yet to heal. Behind closed doors, the weight of the crown feels like a crushing burden, leaving those who once held power drowning in their own despair. Diana can't stop the tears. To her, every loss feels like a personal robbery, a theft of the future she was promised. She blames Adelaide. To her, the new Empress is nothing but an arrogant princess who was simply born into the right family. It feels so effortless, so unfair. Diana watches her world crumble while Adelaide stands tall, seemingly without lifting a finger. But despair eventually turns into a sharp, jagged resolve. Diana reaches out, grasping at the last shreds of her dignity. She stares out at the Empire, refusing to believe she has been truly defeated. The ivory palace is hers, and she won't let it go. Her eyes, once bright with hope, are now clouded with a dangerous obsession. She views every stone of this place as her birthright. A silent vow is made. She will never hand over what she believes is hers, regardless of who currently sits on the throne.
Meanwhile, the emperor remains cold and detached, delegating only the most urgent tasks as if the lives of his subjects are mere numbers on a ledger. Adelaide is ready to move. She calls for her most trusted maid, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. She needs to see the budget, to understand the true flow of power. If she is to be empress, she will not be a powerless figurehead. The morning sun bathes the palace in a deceptive warmth, masking the dire news arriving from the borders. Count Calvin sits in the drawing room, the picture of a man who has reached his breaking point. He waits for an audience he fears will never come. Sweat beads on his brow. He has traveled far, carrying the weight of a dying territory on his shoulders. When the Empress finally arrives, the atmosphere shifts instantly. Her presence is a stark contrast to the Count's frantic energy. She takes her seat with a grace that demands respect, her eyes fixed on the man who has come to beg for his people's lives. Adelaide doesn't waste time with pleasantries. She wants the truth about the situation in his fief, no matter how grim. Calvin is startled. He didn't expect the Empress to know so much about the tower or the monsters it has unleashed. His voice trembles as he confirms her suspicions. The diameter of the tower is widening, and the danger is growing every day. Adelaide listens intently. She sees through the political maneuvering to the human cost beneath it all. The Count describes a nightmare. No keepers, no strikers, just ordinary citizens picking up tools to fight monsters they can't possibly defeat. Adelaide realizes the gravity of the betrayal. The capital has knowingly withheld support, effectively sentencing an entire region to death. Calvin's eyes fill with tears. He speaks of citizens being ripped apart, of knights falling from sheer exhaustion. Her attendants urge the Count to maintain his decorum, but Adelaide stops them. There is no refined way to describe hell. She looks at him, seeing the same pain she witnessed in her own past. The memories of her mother's cold pragmatism resurface. She remembers the monsters, the screams, the blood-red sky that signaled the end of everything for so many innocent souls. The image of a child crying over a fallen mother haunts her. This is the reality the Crown chooses to ignore. Her mother's voice echoes in her mind, telling her to close her eyes and cover her ears, promising her the world in exchange for her soul. But Adelaide was never like her mother. She couldn't simply watch the world burn and call it an opportunity. She told her mother then, and she believes it now, she doesn't need a world built on the corpses of her people. That was the day the rift between them became a chasm. The day she lost her title as crown princess because she chose mercy over power. Returning to the present, she sees the same desperation in Count Calvin. He is ready to return to his fief and die with his people. Adelaide commands him to listen. She cannot send an army, but she can give him a strategy for survival. She tells him to move the citizens to underground shelters and to join forces with neighboring lords to pressure the capital. She is thinking several steps ahead, turning a desperate defense into a political move the emperor cannot ignore. She signals her maid, who brings forward a small, heavy bag. It's a gesture of solidarity that goes beyond words. She offers it to the Count, her expression softening for the first time since the meeting began. Inside are gold bars. It is a significant portion of her personal wealth, given without hesitation. Calvin is stunned. He came expecting a cold dismissal and instead found an ally in the most unlikely place. Adelaide apologizes that she cannot do more. In this moment, she feels the true sting of her limited authority. Outside the room, others are watching. They wonder why the Empress would bother with a man the Emperor has already abandoned. The Grand Duke and his aide observe the exchange from the shadows, intrigued by Adelaide's defiance of the royal status quo. They discuss the Emperor's decision. To abandon such a loyal subject is more than a mistake. It's a ridiculous failure of leadership.
The Grand Duke watches through the window as the Count prepares to leave, his interest in the new Empress deepening. The sound of footsteps on stone marks the end of the secret meeting. The Count is leaving, but he is no longer empty-handed. Calvin clutches the bag of gold as if it were the most precious thing in the world. For his people, it likely is. The Duke's aide stops him, surprised to see the Count in such a state, his face streaked with tears of relief. Calvin shows them the gold. He explains that the Empress gave this to him to fund the evacuation of his citizens. The revelation hits the Duke's aide like a physical blow. He didn't think Adelaide had it in her to be so bold. Calvin bows deeply. He is eager to return home, his heart bolstered by the Empress's kindness. Even the Duke's aide feels compelled to help, handing over his own contribution. Adelaide's actions are starting a ripple effect. The Count is overwhelmed. He never thought he would find such compassion within these palace walls. As the carriage rattles away, the atmosphere in the palace garden remains heavy with the weight of what has just transpired. The Grand Duke watches the carriage fade into the distance. Adelaide has proven to be far more than just a political pawn. Back inside, Adelaide sips her tea, the bitterness of the situation still lingering on her tongue. She knows that gold is just a temporary fix. It doesn't solve the underlying problem of her lack of real power. Her maid tries to comfort her, telling her she did all she could within her authority. But Adelaide knows that isn't enough. She stares into her cup, reflecting on the insults and the helplessness she has had to endure since arriving in this land. She remembers her mother's words again. The world is established by smart people, but ruled by wise people. Being smart wasn't enough to save those people. To truly change things, she needs to become wise. She needs to become powerful. She realizes that the only way to gain that power is to stop avoiding the man who holds it all. Her maid suggests a meeting with the Emperor. It's a dangerous game, but one Adelaide can no longer afford to skip. To survive in Egmont, she must maintain a cordial relationship with the man who hates her. She must become indispensable. She begins her transformation. Every brush stroke, every layer of makeup is part of the armor she is putting on for the battle ahead. She chooses a deep, royal blue, a color that commands attention and speaks of a strength that cannot be broken. When she is finished, even her maid is breathless. Adelaide looks every bit the Empress she was meant to be. She stands before the mirror, her eyes burning with a new fire. She is no longer just a princess in exile. She is a woman ready to take her world back. Adelaide knows that her survival in this palace depends on her ability to navigate the Emperor's whims. She steels herself, hiding her deep-seated anxiety behind a mask of regal poise and perfect composure. When she enters his study, the atmosphere is thick with a cold, biting tension that makes her skin crawl. The Emperor looks at her not as his wife or a partner, but as a minor intruder in his private sanctuary. She stands before him, a splash of vibrant blue in a room that feels drained of all warmth. His gaze is unreadably sharp, tracking her every movement with the clinical detachment of a judge. He notes the way she carries herself tonight, a flicker of curiosity crossing his face as they take their seats. She looks different, stronger perhaps, or simply more desperate to be seen as more than a political ornament. He doesn't waste time with pleasantries, his voice cutting through the silence like a sharpened blade. Adelaide tries to maintain her calm, but the weight of his scrutiny is starting to wear her down. He leans his head on his hand, a mocking smile playing on his lips that she has learned to dread. The question comes with a sneer. Why would she summon Count Calvin, the man he had just turned away? He's already suspicious, his eyes searching hers for any sign of a hidden agenda or a secret plot. She tries to appeal to his sense of duty, but the Emperor's expression only hardens as he listens. He leans back, his posture relaxed but his eyes narrow and dangerous as he processes her words. The news of her secret meeting has already reached him, and he's clearly relishing the chance to use it. Adelaide feels the trap closing. He's twisting her compassion into a calculated move to undermine his authority. He mocks the idea of her being the virtuous one while he is cast as the villain of the story. She struggles to find a response that won't further ignite his temper, her heart racing in her chest. The air in the room becomes suffocating as he suddenly stands, his presence looming over her. Each of his deliberate steps across the carpet feels like a predator closing in on its cornered prey. He crowds her space, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous murmur that makes her breath hitch. The words echo a past she'd rather forget, a legacy of being told to look away from the world's darkness. He's trying to erase her agency, to remind her that her only value lies in her quiet compliance. It's funny to him that she thinks his people are hers, a cruel reminder of her status as an outsider. Her rage simmers just beneath the surface, a silent, desperate scream against his absolute control. A wave of nausea washes over her as the room seems to spin, his proximity becoming too much to bear. He reaches out, his fingers tracing the braid of her hair with a possessiveness that lacks any real warmth. His eyes are like cold gems, searching for a reaction, waiting for her to break under the pressure. He lingers on the sight of her, noting how slender and fragile she looks in the dim light of the study. He leans in close to her neck, his touch clinical, as if he were inspecting a piece of fine art. He's mocking her very existence, questioning if she's truly the woman who once commanded a kingdom's respect. His breath ghosts against her skin, a hollow intimacy that only serves to deepen her sense of isolation. He asks what's with her expression, his voice dripping with a feigned curiosity that feels like an insult. He's testing her limits, pushing her to see how much of her dignity she'll surrender for his attention. His hand moves to her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze as he offers a choice that is no choice at all. He offers to comply with her supposed desire to spend the night, his words a sharp, bitter mockery. It's a performance of intimacy designed to humiliate her, to remind her of her place in his bed and his palace. When she finally finds the strength to push his hand away, his reaction is one of cold, sharp amusement. He reminds her that while she was once a crown princess, here he is the only ruler that matters. He makes it clear that he has no use for a woman who meddles in his affairs or thinks for herself. He wants a woman who is gentle and obedient, a clear warning that her recent defiance is over. Adelaide stares at him, the realization of his true nature settling into her bones like a deep, icy chill. With a final, dismissive flick of his hand, he tells her she can leave, his interest already fading. She stands alone for a moment, the silence of the room ringing in her ears like a physical blow. Her hands are trembling so violently that she has to clench them into fists to hide her weakness. She turns to leave, her movements stiff and mechanical as she tries to maintain some shred of her pride. Adelaide stumbles out into the hallway, the weight of his cruelty pressing down on her lungs. She feels sick to her stomach, the air in the palace suddenly tasting like ash and bitter regret. But the night isn't over. Diana Poitiers is waiting in the shadows, her presence a final, calculated insult. The mistress watches the Empress's unraveling with a serpent's smile, relishing every second of her distress. Diana's eyes are bright with malice as she notes the Empress's shaking hands and shattered composure. She offers backhanded compliments, her voice a sugary weapon meant to slice through Adelaide's remaining defenses. She notes that Adelaide's makeup is pretty, but suggests she needs it thicker to hide her pale, sickly face. Diana leans in close, her whisper a sharp taunt. "Are you going to run away now, Empress?"
It's a challenge, a reminder that in this house, the mistress holds more power than the legitimate wife. Adelaide doesn't give her the satisfaction of a response, her heart hammering a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She just needs to get away, to find somewhere safe where the eyes of her enemies can't reach her. The maids look on in silence, their eyes tracking the Empress as she begins to break under the strain. Adelaide breaks into a frantic run, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she nears the grand staircase. Her vision is blurred by tears and panic, the lights of the hallway spinning into a dizzying kaleidoscope. She reaches the top of the stairs, her only thought to put as much distance as possible between her and them. Then, the world tilts. Her heel catches on the edge of the stone step, and her balance is gone. She feels the terrifying rush of air as she begins to fall, the cold floor below waiting to claim her. But the impact never comes. Instead, she's caught by a pair of strong, steady arms that halt her descent. She's pressed against a firm chest, the smell of rain and iron replacing the stifling scent of the palace. She looks up, stunned into silence, her heart still racing from the near fall and the sudden rescue. She finds herself staring into the steady, intense gaze of Lionel Valdir, the man who shouldn't be here. His eyes are a calm harbor in the middle of her storm, searching her face for any sign of injury. In a palace full of people who want to see her destroyed, he is the only one who has ever bothered to catch her. As she clings to him, Adelaide realizes that her path to freedom might just begin with the man the Emperor hates most. The world seems to tilt for a moment as Adelaide loses her footing on the stairs, but she doesn't hit the ground. Instead, she finds herself caught in the firm, steady grip of the Minister of Defense. His gaze is intense, searching her face for any sign of injury, but all he finds is a woman who looks as though she's seen a ghost. The silence between them is heavy with the weight of things left unsaid. Adelaide quickly regains her composure, though her heart is still racing. She thanks him with a stiff, formal politeness that feels like a shield, her eyes refusing to meet his for longer than necessary. She brushes past him without another word, her movements hurried and desperate. She needs to get away from the eyes of the court, away from the suffocating pressure of her own title. The minister watches her retreat, her blue gown trailing behind her like a fading shadow. He can't shake the feeling that something is fundamentally broken within the Empress. Her face was so pale, so devoid of the life he remembers. It leaves him standing in the hallway, haunted by the vulnerability he just witnessed. He remembers a time when her smile was refreshing, a light that could brighten even the coldest corners of the palace. That light has been extinguished, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. His hand still feels hot where he touched her shoulder, a lingering heat that feels like a brand. It's a reminder of a connection he shouldn't feel, a spark in the middle of a winter of political intrigue. He stands alone, looking at his empty palm. He is a man of war, but he finds himself wondering if there is any way to fight the invisible battles currently tearing the Empress apart. When Adelaide finally returns to her own chambers, her head maid is waiting, her face etched with immediate concern. She can tell at a glance that the Empress's meeting with the Emperor went poorly. The doors are slammed shut, cutting off the rest of the world. The time for public masks is over, leaving only the raw ache of a woman betrayed by her own household.
Adelaide sinks into the hot bath water, hoping to wash away the feeling of the minister's touch and the Emperor's coldness. The steam rises around her, but it can't melt the ice in her chest. She stares into nothingness, the water droplets on her skin feeling like tears. She asks herself the same question over and over. What path is left for a woman who has lost everything but her name? She remembers the advice she was given long ago to walk her own path and remain modest regardless of the results. It was a lesson in endurance, a command to accept her fate without complaint.
She was told that the world is a place capable of changing people like her, molding them into whatever shape society requires. She was taught to be soft, to be yielding, to be the perfect, silent victim. But the water is getting cold, and Adelaide realizes that silence has gained her nothing but misery. If the world wants to change her, she will change with it, but not in the way they expect. She knows now that she needs to grow her own power, a strength that is entirely independent of the Emperor's favor or his whims. Her luck with a spouse was indeed a tragedy, but she won't let it be her end. She thinks back to the fortune teller who claimed she was born with great luck. What a cruel joke that turned out to be. She wasn't lucky. She was simply being prepared for a higher fall. A bitter smile touches her lips as she realizes the man was nothing more than a quack, a swindler selling false hope to a girl who didn't know any better. She's done with false hopes. The Empress's palace stands tall and majestic in the morning light, a beautiful prison of marble and gold. From the outside, it looks like a dream. From the inside, it's a battlefield. As she sits for her meal, every movement is precise, calculated. She stabs at her food with a quiet intensity, her mind already moving through the legal maneuvers she needs to survive. The room is silent, save for the clink of silverware. The head maid watches her, sensing a shift in the atmosphere, a hardening of the Empress's spirit that wasn't there before.
Adelaide chews slowly, her eyes sharp and focused. She is no longer the girl who believed in fairy tales. She is a ruler looking for a way to reclaim her throne. The maid's expression remains grim. She knows the history of this palace, the way it swallows women whole. She sees the pale shadow of the woman Adelaide used to be and fears for what's coming. Memories of humiliation resurface, the way she was forced to endure Diana's presence, the way the court whispered behind her back. Every slight is a fuel for the fire she's building. Madame warns her to eat slowly, her voice soft with a maternal concern that Adelaide hasn't felt in years. It's the only warmth she has left in this cold, gold-plated life. Adelaide nods, though her mind is miles away. She is calculating the cost of her survival, the price she'll have to pay to finally strike back at those who have wronged her. A knock at the door interrupts the quiet, a sharp sound that signals the return of the outside world and its endless demands. A young clerk enters, looking nervous as he presents a document for the Empress to review. It's a request for a revision of the emergency supplementary budget. The clerk holds the paper out with trembling hands. He knows the weight of what he's asking, even if he's just the messenger for a much more powerful force. Adelaide takes the document, her eyes scanning the lines of elegant script. Her expression remains unreadable, but her grip on the paper tightens. The head maid watches the Empress's face, looking for a reaction. She knows that any request for money in this palace is a political statement. Adelaide asks if the document was sent by His Majesty. She already knows the answer, but she wants to hear it confirmed, to feel the weight of the betrayal one more time. The clerk stammers, his eyes darting away. He admits that it wasn't the Emperor who sent it. It came directly from the Ivory Palace, Diana's residence. The Ivory Palace. The name alone is an insult. The Emperor is using the Empress's own budget to fund the lavish lifestyle of his mistress, and he isn't even trying to hide it. Adelaide looks up at the clerk, her gaze cold and piercing. She asks if she has the authority to look over the entire budget of the royal palace. She's looking for a loophole. The head maid confirms it. As the Empress, she has the legal right to oversee all royal expenditures. It's a power she has long neglected, but one she is about to wield like a sword. Adelaide demands to see all the records. She wants to know exactly how much of her life has been stolen and handed over to a woman who doesn't even have a legitimate title.
The head maid brings the books, her own resolve mirroring the Empress's. They are no longer just keeping house, they are preparing for a financial siege. The clerk is stunned by the amount. He can't believe the Empress is actually going to scrutinize the records after years of passive acceptance. Adelaide points out that the amount assigned to her is a joke. It's not even enough to buy a common horse, let alone maintain the dignity of the Empress's palace. The head maid looks at the numbers and can only agree. The disparity is staggering, a blatant sign of how little the emperor values his wife compared to his mistress. Adelaide realizes the Ivory Palace's budget actually exceeds her own. The emperor has completely inverted the hierarchy of the court, and he's done it with her money. She sends the clerk back to Diana with a message. She is going to reallocate the budget, but not in the way the Ivory Palace expects. In the Ivory Palace, Diana receives the news with an arrogant disbelief. She can't imagine that the weak Empress would dare to challenge her, especially when she has the emperor's ear. The clerk is caught in the middle, sweating under Diana's sharp gaze. He's realized that the power dynamics of the palace are shifting, and he's standing on unstable ground. Diana grabs a quill, her movements sharp and aggressive. She decides to write a response that will put the Empress back in her place once and for all. She hands the paper back to the clerk, a smug smile on her lips. She thinks she's won this round, convinced that her influence over the emperor is absolute.
She looks at the clerk with a chilling confidence. She tells him to take the document to the Empress immediately, certain that her words will end this little rebellion. When the document returns to Adelaide, she reads it with a calm that is more terrifying than anger. She sees Diana's arrogance written in every stroke of the pen. The clerk can only watch in silence as the Empress prepares her response. He feels like he's watching a storm gather over the palace. With a slow, deliberate motion, Adelaide rips the document in half. The sound of the tearing paper echoes in the quiet room, a declaration of war. Back at the Ivory Palace, Diana is already celebrating her supposed victory. She fans herself lazily, laughing about the Empress's lavish desires. She tells her maid that she's given the Empress enough already. She thinks she's being generous by allowing the Empress to even exist within the palace walls. She dismisses the clerk with a wave of her hand, her mind already moving on to her next social engagement. She has no idea that she's just handed Adelaide the weapon she needs. Diana orders her maid to bring her the plainest dress she owns. She wants to look like a victim, to run to the emperor and tell him how the mean Empress is bullying her. She rehearses her lines, planning to tell him that she's trembling with fear. It's a performance she's perfected, one that has never failed to get her what she wants. She smiles at her reflection, a predator in a silk gown. She thinks she's about to catch a black-furred beast, unaware that the beast has already found her scent. Meanwhile, Adelaide is deep in the royal law books. She isn't looking for money anymore. She's looking for the ultimate authority. She finds it, a clause buried in the ancient statutes that everyone else has forgotten. It's a simple rule, but in her hands, it's a death sentence for Diana's social standing. The authority of acquiring residency permits for the palace resides solely under the Empress. It's a legal absolute that even the emperor cannot easily overturn. The head maid warns her that the law is a double-edged sword. If she swings it, she must be prepared for the consequences. But Adelaide is past caring about her own safety. She points out that she's still the Empress, and yet she's been forced to beg for crumbs from a mistress. The humiliation is the only sword she needs. The emperor was the one who swung the sword first, she tells her maid. She's already been hurt enough. Now it's her turn to strike back. She asks what she should do if she wants to overturn residency permits that have already been handled. The answer is simple. She just needs to order their retrieval. A cold, triumphant smile spreads across Adelaide's face.
She turns to her maid and gives the final command. Hurry up and bring me Diana Poitier's residency permit. What is the true source of an empress's power? Most assume it's the prestige of a family name or the security of an heir, but I have neither. I've been cast aside by my kin and ignored by my husband. For a long time, I was a ghost in my own palace. I'm done waiting for someone else to grant me standing. If I want authority, I have to take it. The emperor once offered me an heir as if it were a business transaction, a way to keep me quiet. I rejected him then, and I reject that path now. I won't be defined by what I lack. I will be defined by what I do. To truly stand on my own, I must establish my own foundation. I need an aid, and I need to reclaim the resources that were stolen from me. Suddenly, a sharp sensation ripples through my hand. It's a jolt of energy, cold and ancient, vibrating against the pen. My vision blurs for a second as a strange power surges through my veins. It's a reminder that my blood carries more than just a title. I clench my fist, grounding myself. Whatever this mystery is, it will have to wait. I have a guest to attend to. I watch her from the window. Diana Poitier, the woman who has been playing Empress while I was locked away in grief. She's come herself, likely to see if the rumors of my sudden change in attitude are true. I tell my maid to show her to the drawing room. It's time for a long overdue conversation about who really runs this court. I wait for her, seated with a posture that leaves no room for doubt. I am the sovereign here, not her. Diana enters, dressed in soft, innocent pink. It's a calculated choice, designed to make her look fragile and me look like the aggressor. I don't offer her tea or a warm welcome. I get straight to the point, the budget revisions I demanded. She looks at me with those wide blue eyes, pretending she doesn't understand why I would suddenly care about the ledgers. It's a look that used to work on me, but now it just feels like a poorly rehearsed performance. She tries to deflect, her voice soft and honey-sweet, as if she's simply a victim of administrative errors. My head maid places the books on the table. The silence in the room is heavy, punctuated only by the sound of paper hitting marble. The maid's face is a mask of professional disapproval. She knows exactly what's missing from these records. Diana's expression remains calm, but I can see her mind racing, searching for a way to maintain her facade. She thinks this is just a petty attempt at pressure. She thinks I'm still the same weak woman she can easily manipulate. I offer a small, cold smile. I have something very specific I want to ask her about these numbers. The details are missing, Diana. Every other palace in this kingdom provides an itemized list of their expenditures. The central palace, the servants' quarters, the guard, they all document every copper spent. It's the law of the court. But the Ivory Palace, your palace, it's the only place that doesn't have a single record of its usage. She starts to sweat, the innocent mask beginning to crack. She knows she's been caught treating the treasury like her personal vault. I take a slow, deliberate sip of my tea, letting the silence do the work for me. The clatter of the cup is the only sound in the room. Then I drop the real blow. The budget allocated to the Ivory Palace is being transferred back to the Empress's palace, effective immediately. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's study, word of this meeting reaches him. He reacts with immediate defensive concern. The servants paint a picture of a terrified Diana being summoned to my lair. He listens, his face hardening with every word. They tell him she was trembling in fear. They make me out to be the villain, and he is more than ready to believe them. He doesn't stop to ask for the facts. He just hears that his precious Diana is in trouble and loses his temper. He's haunted by shadows of his own, and Diana knows exactly how to trigger his protectiveness to her advantage. Back in the drawing room, Diana is finally starting to realize that the rules have changed.
She looks pale, her confidence vanishing. I remind her that for a long time, she was fulfilling the Empress's duties, and the budget she received was for those duties. But since I am now fulfilling my own tasks as Empress, it is only natural that I receive the allocated funds. She stares at me, her eyes wide with shock. She can't believe I'm actually using my position to strip her of her power. I look at her name, Diana Poitier. No title, no royal blood. Just a guest who stayed too long and took too much. I tell her I won't ask for the missing details of her past spending. I'm being generous, in my own way. She bites her lip, her knuckles turning white as she grips the fabric of her dress. She's spiraling. The authority she took for granted is being ripped away in a matter of minutes. It's vexing for her, I'm sure. She truly believed that the Emperor's affection was all the protection she would ever need. She was wrong. In her mind, this palace, this room, and everything in it were supposed to be hers forever. I see the raw greed behind her eyes. She's not crying for her dignity, she's crying for the money and the power. Seeing that expression reminds me of the time I lost everything just from a few simple words. It's my turn to speak now. She asks if I think she's losing her position because of me. The gall of her to suggest I'm the one being unfair. I am the Empress of Egmont. I don't need to explain myself to a commoner who forgot her place. I warn her never to challenge my authority again. If she does, I will never forgive her. She begins to cry for real now, big, fat tears that roll down her cheeks. It's a masterful display of grief. Her shoulders tremble, her breathing becomes shallow. She knows exactly how to look like a broken bird. I watch her performance with a cold, weary eye. I know who this is for. I can hear the heavy footsteps in the hall. The door bursts open with a violent crash. The Emperor has arrived, and he looks like he's ready to burn the room down. He ignores me entirely, his gaze locking onto the sobbing woman on the floor. His fury is palpable. Diana doesn't miss her cue. She drops to her knees, making it look like she's begging for her life. "Please forgive me, Your Majesty," she wails, making sure her voice carries the perfect amount of terror. I look at her and see the same manipulation that has kept me in the dark for years. It's sickening. She makes it look like I've been torturing her, playing the part of the victim to absolute perfection. He turns his glare toward me, his voice low and dangerous. "Empress, what the hell are you doing?" Diana continues to shake, her head bowed as if she can't even bear to look at me. She's calculated every sob. I stand up slowly, meeting his eyes without a hint of fear. I tell her to get up. The theater is over. I remind her that we were having a civil conversation until she decided to stage this tragedy. He barks my name like an insult, his face twisted with a rage that he has never once aimed at her. Her maid rushes to her side, adding to the chaotic scene, making it seem as though Diana is on the verge of a collapse. The Emperor looks at her with a desperate, frantic concern. It's a tenderness he has never once shown me in all our years together. He orders the maid to take her back to her palace immediately, his voice tight with suppressed anger. Then he dismisses everyone else. He wants to speak with the Empress alone. The air in the room is like ice. Fine, let him yell, let him threaten. He wants to speak with me? Let's see if he can handle the truth for once.